Thailand rose to dominate the standings, claiming the entire top 4. 2 Team of the Day titles belong to Twisted Minds and Team Falcons. Team Falcons charge forward like a machine of destruction, the only team to break the 200-point mark with 4 dominant booyahs. AG doesn't need booyahs. They hunt eliminations, apply pressure, and hold firmly at top 2 as a warning to everyone.
And now he might get a 4th one here, and Han goes down! Cypher takes them all out!
Buriram United had a slow start, but Kings always know when to accelerate.
Through all of those players, dig way down on the ground, and put it up coming in here to finish them off one after the other. Demon can't do much. It's a 4v1, and Moshi finally puts an end to that.
The class of the defending champions never truly fades. Indonesia became the stage of shocking upsets. Giants are falling. Even the EWC defending champions managed only 10 points on day 3, dropping all the way to top 18, an unbelievable collapse.
He gets smacked out as well. There goes Evo's 12th place at bottom 3, 3rd game in a row.
But inside that chaos, a new generation is rising. Onyx, Bigatron, bold, explosive, fearless.
Wasana wide Bigatron with a back-to-back booyah.
Vietnam once started in flames, 3 booyahs. And Gao claimed Team of the Day 1, but that fire quickly began to slow down. Team Flash and WAG are still fighting to keep the hope alive.
Flash can't find the finisher just yet. They try to break through the glue wall. Barros panic, and he does not pick up Nameless, misses the opportunity, and Flash overwhelms AG Global.
While Heavy, P Esports, and even Gao themselves are starting to fall behind. And Malaysia, no longer the free points many expected them to be. They are more resilient, more proactive, more dangerous. And now, they are closing in on top 12, waiting for the perfect moment to break through. Week 2. The battle for the top 12 will be more brutal than ever. We're no longer just playing for points. We're fighting to secure the best possible chance, to claim a ticket to the grand finals. Who will rise? Who will fall? Find out in Week 2 of FFWS.
first quarter.
Day 2 of FFWS C2026 Spring. Vietnam's anger has reached its peak. Indonesia and Thailand already hold their grand finals tickets. This is home soil, and now it's Vietnam's turn to answer back. Team Flash once again set the perfect tempo for the battlefield. A booyah to open the day.
Now, this should be a simple victory for Flash. Booyah achieved, Team Flash.
But the team accelerating the fastest was Gao Esports. Back-to-back booyah.
From Goku, he was able to get rid of 3 walls and Death finds this important slide. He's on.
It's just about the time as Gao grabs a back-to-back booyah.
Sending them straight into the safe zone. 63 points after just 3 games. A gap big enough to make every other team look up at them. And somehow, the 13th ranked team entering the race today became the first Vietnamese team to secure a golden ticket. Absolute madness. But even crazier was RRQ. They made the entire kingdom hold its breath. 2 games, 1 single point. Then, the king awakened. A booyah with 18 eliminations. This was no comeback story. This was a warning to the entire region, constantly losing players, fight after fight from a disadvantage. Yet RRQ still clawed their way back to the top, through a level of composure no one could explain. Baryu looked asleep for most of the day. It wasn't until Game 5 that they truly joined the race.
Fights back, but he is down, and Mink would be mangled. Buriram United for the booyah.
But Thailand stayed calm because they know the race is far from over. Meanwhile, Malaysia no longer looked as explosive as day one. Is this just a short break? Or the first sign of collapse under pressure? Vietnam's teams delivered a strong performance today. Maybe no golden ticket yet, but in every brutal team fight, they backed down against no one. WAG carried the hopes of an entire region, but Game 4, then Game 5, shattered their chances too early. And even with a booyah in the final game, it still wasn't enough to break into the top 2.
He's barricading himself in. Will he be able to clutch this or just play around? And there goes WAG for the booyah.
Now, only 2 golden tickets remain in Week 3. Who will rise? Who will survive? One final sprint before the decisive week begins.
We're heading into Week 2 of the Free Fire World Series Southeast Asia 2026 Spring as the top 12 spots are starting to take shape. Thailand has settled into form. The experimentation phase is over. They are now in full control. Any sparks from the rising teams were quickly snuffed out. All 5 Thai representatives have secured places in the top 12. An unmistakable statement that this year's race belongs to Thailand. Thailand, the kings of Southeast Asia, enter this competition with the aura of a reigning champion. Reaching the top 12 is no longer an objective, but an expectation.
Buriram United will get that booyah because of great.
คืออะไร32ว่าที่1แล้วกันผมราชาเก็บแต้มอยู่แล้ว
The race for the top spot may soon see no other region represented. With 4 Thai teams, Team Falcons, AG Global, Buriram United Esports, and Twisted Minds taking control.
มีความในใจอยากจะบอกบุรีรัมย์ครับอยากยิงหัวโจ้นะจัดเลยรอบเนี้ย
However, it's not only the top contenders. Avita, a newcomer with the makings of a dark horse. They didn't come here just to survive, but to prove themselves among the elite.
เพราะว่าเพิ่งได้ขึ้นมาเนี่ยครับแต่ก็อย่าประมาทพวกผมครับพวกผมเอาจริงครับ
And when Thailand turn it on, anyone in their path can become the next to be wiped out of the top 12.
คิดว่าทีมที่จะตกรอบน่าจะเป็นทีมออร่าครับเพราะแบบเป็นน้องใหม่ยังไม่รู้ฝีมือ
ขอให้เป็น RQ แล้วกันครับขอให้เขาแบบว่าไปก่อนเลยจะได้เล่นง่ายๆ
Indonesia had a forgettable week, with giants like RRQ and EVOS looking unusually quiet.
Karena kurang adaptasi aja sih sama ya kurang berpengalaman dari player-player lainnya.
Ya kurang introspeksi diri sendiri aja lagi.
Is it a slow start, or are they waiting for the right moment to break through?
Kalau top 1 nanti kebaca gameplaynya.
On the road to the top 12, Vietnam remains a difficult opponent, consistently applying pressure on the Indonesian representatives.
Buat tim Vietnam mau lolos apa nggak lolos ya mending lu nggak usah lolos soalnya kan lu main di negara lu sendiri ya. Jadi saran gua mending lu nonton aja.
Vietnam, a region that exploded in the early stages.
Cái lớp này chắc là lớp mạnh nhất của Gao từ trước này.
Gao có khả năng tầm 60% để vô địch giải C năm nay.
Amid such intense competition, can they find the strength to bounce back?
Việc team em trùng khu khá nhiều nên cái lượng điểm thu thập được là không đủ để vào top 12.
Even so, for the Vietnamese representatives, missing out on the top 12 remains unthinkable.
Cái đó thì em không nghĩ tới bởi vì line-up mùa này em khá là tự tin.
Động lực của em đến từ sự thất bại của mùa giải trước. Đó là một khoảng thời gian tồi tệ và rất dài đối với em. Nên là mùa giải năm nay em phải cố gắng.
Vietnam's goal is not just to stay in the race, but to push as many opponents out of it as possible. While other regions are battling for every top 12 spot, no one seems to notice that Malaysia is closing in. Aurora and Anyone Can Dream move like silent assassins, waiting for the fight and striking at the perfect moment.
Target kita orang nak lepas ke Vietnam lagi supaya dapat rasa macam dulu. Kita orang dah training lama, maybe tinggal kita orang layak untuk pergi final 8 lah macam tu lah. Top 8 lah.
The race for the top 12 is nearing its end. Who will be left behind? Tune in to week 2 to find out.
Ate said the moon and the sun aren't rivals. I still believe in that.
One came to an end, and the battlefield of FFWS 2026 Spring had begun to take shape. Thailand rose to dominate the standings, claiming the entire top 4. 2 Team of the Day titles belong to Twisted Minds and Team Falcons. Team Falcons charge forward like a machine of destruction, the only team to break the 200-point mark with 4 dominant booyahs. AG doesn't need booyahs. They hunt eliminations, apply pressure, and hold firmly at top 2 as a warning to everyone.
Now he might get a 4th one here, and Han goes down! Cypher takes them all out!
Buriram United had a slow start, but Kings always know when to accelerate.
Through all of those players, dig way down on the ground, and put it on coming in here to finish them off one after the other. Demon can't do much. It's a 4v1, and Moshi finally puts an end to that.
The class of the defending champions never truly fades. Indonesia became the stage of shocking upsets. Giants are falling. Even the EWC defending champions managed only 10 points on day 3, dropping all the way to top 18, an unbelievable collapse.
He gets smacked out as well. There goes Esports, 12th place, bottom 3, third game in a row.
But inside that chaos, a new generation is rising. Onyx, Bigatron, bold, explosive, fearless.
Rosana wide, Bigatron with a back-to-back booyah.
Vietnam once started in flames, 3 booyahs. And Gao claimed Team of the Day 1, but that fire quickly began to slow down. Team Flash and WAG are still fighting to keep the hope alive.
Flash can't find the finisher just yet. They try to break through the glue wall. Baros panic, and he does not pick up Nameless, misses the opportunity, and Flash overwhelms AG Global.
While Heavy, P Esports, and even Gao themselves are starting to fall behind. And Malaysia, no longer the free points many expected them to be. They are more resilient, more proactive, more dangerous. And now, they are closing in on top 12, waiting for the perfect moment to break through. Week 2. The battle for the top 12 will be more brutal than ever. We're no longer just playing for points. We're fighting to secure the best possible chance, to claim a ticket to the grand finals. Who will rise? Who will fall? Find out in Week 2 of FFWS. Day 2 of FFWS C2026 Spring. Vietnam's anger has reached its peak. Indonesia and Thailand already hold their grand finals tickets. This is home soil, and now it's Vietnam's turn to answer back. Team Flash once again set the perfect tempo for the battlefield. A booyah to open the day.
Now, this should be a simple victory for Flash. Booyah achieved, Team Flash.
But the team accelerating the fastest was Gao Esports. Back-to-back booyah.
From Goku, he was able to get rid of 3 walls and Death finds this important slide.
He's just on. It's just about the time as Gao grabs a back-to-back booyah.
Sending them straight into the safe zone. 63 points after just 3 games. A gap big enough to make every other team look up at them. And somehow, the 13th ranked team entering the race today became the first Vietnamese team to secure a golden ticket. Absolute madness. But even crazier was RRQ. They made the entire kingdom hold its breath. 2 games, 1 single point. Then, the king awakened. A booyah with 18 eliminations. This was no comeback story. This was a warning to the entire region, constantly losing players. Fight after fight from a disadvantage. Yet RRQ still clawed their way back to the top through a level of composure no one could explain. Bar Yu looked asleep for most of the day. It wasn't until Game 5 that they truly joined the race.
Fights back, but he is down, and Mink would be mangled. Buriram United for the booyah.
But Thailand stayed calm because they know the race is far from over. Meanwhile, Malaysia no longer looked as explosive as Day 1. Is this just a short break? Or the first sign of collapse under pressure? Vietnam's teams delivered a strong performance today. Maybe no golden ticket yet, but in every brutal team fight, they backed down against no one. WAG carried the hopes of an entire region, but Game 4, then Game 5, shattered their chances too early. And even with a booyah in the final game, it still wasn't enough to break into the top 2.
He's barricading himself in. Will he be able to clutch this or just play around? And there goes WAG for the booyah.
Now, only 2 golden tickets remain in Week 3. Who will rise? Who will survive? One final sprint before the decisive week begins. Garena.
We're heading into Week 2 of the Free Fire World Series Southeast Asia 2026 Spring as the top 12 spots are starting to take shape. Thailand has settled into form. The experimentation phase is over. They are now in full control. Any sparks from the rising teams were quickly snuffed out. All 5 Thai representatives have secured places in the top 12. An unmistakable statement that this year's race belongs to Thailand.
Truck running down those blue walls, and that removes RRQ from the equation. What a decision made here by the Vietnamese squad. BE secure. Still up on his feet. On fire drops him. One final player from the side of Twisted Minds. 3v1. Make that 3. We none. Falcons, your back-to-back Clash Squad and Battle Royale champions, the dominators of Thailand.
Represent, gotta do it hella big, had to run it back again, light it up. Represent, had to do it hella big, had to run it back again, light it up. Let it drop. Let it drop. Let it drop.
4 teams have gotten the early access to the finals today. 2 more will earn their tickets. My name's AJ. I'm the Mustachio down here with the one and only Husky. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, this is the Free Fire World Series Southeast Asia 2026 Spring. How are you feeling, Husky?
I'm feeling great. You know, with how things have been developing, it's from phase 1 until now. I'm feeling pretty excited for what's to come today. I think this phase 2 format has made it very competitive. But today, I'm gonna state it out there first. You know, lay out the premises. I'm here for Aurora, right? They gave me a lot of hope 2 days ago. They came very close. Yesterday was a complete opposite, but I believe in a bounce back.
And of course, this is exactly what they're all fighting for. $300,000 on the line, and the champion walks away with $100,000 USD. That's a lot of money on the table. And of course, team of the day, every single day of play, will walk away with a bonus of $250 USD, Husky.
And the Grand Finals MVP will get an extra $4,000 on top of that. The teams who have locked in the tickets to Vietnam are at least guaranteed $9,000. So that's the bare minimum that you get if you qualify to the Grand Finals, which is what everyone is looking forward to. Here's the tournament timeline on the screens. We're done with phase number 1. Now we are in phase 2, which is on 10th May. And this is the first phase of phase 2. We will have 2 more teams from yesterday that hasn't gotten to play join us for today, and then we'll see which 2 teams advances to the finals by the end of this.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, everybody wants to get to the finals, but we have limited spots there, obviously. Only 12 teams there, and the final 6 teams will be able to book their tickets next week. Granted, they do not book their early tickets in here today. Once again, phase 1 is what you guys saw already completed. We broke the teams up into 3 separate groups. They played it through. Phase 2 is where we get the early access into the grand finals. 2 days have elapsed. Today is the final day for the early access. What is the thing that the teams have to deal with if they don't get the final early access? Basically, they have to play an extra 3 days next week, and the top 6 will then make it into the grand finals.
Yep. And the caveat here for some of these teams, fans of some of these teams, all you need to understand is that for Gigabyte Marie's XP Esports and Magna Esports Club, they will only show up in the last 3 days, which will be next weekend. Unfortunately, because they did place the bottom 2 in phase 1, but for AVD and Evil's Divine, today is the day that they get to show up, and there's a good chance that they go into the finals on their first day.
Yeah, absolutely. And it technically does not matter when you make it into the grand finals as long as you smash it there, right? Because at the end of the day, it's all about gathering those points. You definitely want to be aiming for the Booyah. Booyah gets you the 12 placement points, 9 points in that second spot. You minus off 1 point for each consecutive position you hold on the overall leaderboard, except the very bottom 11th and 12th spots don't give you anything at all in terms of placement points, but you can buffer yourself up with those eliminations. Every elimination gets you 1 point.
And if we do have a tiebreaker situation, we first will look at the total booyahs, followed by the total of eliminations, and then if we really come down to the wire, then we'll look at the ranking in the final game for the teams who are tied, alongside with the usual 1 unique active skill per player in the team, so that you won't see any duplicates.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And of course, we are looking at the teams just bringing out their very best, experimentational in terms of some of the active skills that they were playing in that very first week of the group stages. But I think by now they've already figured out exactly how they want to run through the competition. OB53 has definitely brought in a little bit of a shakeup. I'm still surprised to see the quota being run out there. But of course, speaking of running, all the teams want to run into the grand finals. When they get there, it is a race to 80 points, because 80 points will activate the champion rush condition, and from there on, the first team to strike a booyah after achieving that condition becomes the champion. And here's the difference: this time round, there will be unlimited games.
Yep. If you think that 10 games last year at EWC is not enough to sate your hunger, don't worry, we might have 15 games this time around. Who knows? It's up to the teams to prove their mettle. But this will be the team list for today. Again, I did mention earlier on that ABD and Evil's Divine will be joining the roster, but for the rest of the teams, they are the remainders from yesterday and day 1 who have not been able to lock in finals.
Absolutely. And of course, when you look at these squads here, perhaps a few of them might still have you scratching your heads. Buriram United Esports still within play, still looking for that early access. And I think today might just be that day, because I don't think Buriram's the kind of squad that wants to play the extra 3 days, 18 matches next week. So they're definitely going to be on the hustle. But who's going to join them? Will EVOS Divine finally step it up out there on the battlefield? We'll have to wait and see.
I think EVOS Divine are definitely the hungrier one, right? Them and AVD, but more towards EVOS because of the amount of pressure coming into this season and just finishing almost at the bottom at the end of Phase 1, raising a lot of eyebrows and questions from the Indonesian community. You look at their compatriots, you look at RQ, Kazu and BTR, they have been smashing it so far, and they are already going to be waiting in Vietnam, so EVOS Divine sure as heck want to join them.
Yeah, no doubt at all. I mean, you look at a few squads here out of Vietnam and you see hungry faces, right? Team Flash, they started off the competition really hot. I would have expected them to make that qualifier already, but surprising enough, it was Gao that made it through initially. Flash still lingering back here, but I think it's still a very strong squad. As long as Bermuda is that extra map that we see by the end of the day through that randomizer, I think this squad is going to be absolutely delighted because they do score really well on that. But that's the only problem, right? Apart from that Bermuda map, have they managed to find dominance on the other maps? We'll have to wait and see today.
But interestingly enough, BRU is also going through sort of the same phase. If we look at the first 2 days of Phase 2, the team with the highest probability to advance today is actually BRU and Team Flash, because they did place top 5 on both days. So I do want to keep an eye on both of them. I think, again, I did mention at the start, Rora is also another team that I want to see if they can hack it today as well. But if Gao proved something yesterday, is that barely missing out on the first play day of Phase 2 because they finished like 13-14 in Phase 1 proved to be a big motivator.
Yeah, no doubt at all. And of course, you could just pull an Onyx Olympus on everyone, just make that final second qualifier and then just run away with the championship, right? At the end of the day, that's something that is very much available to every single squad that makes it into the grand finals. It's just that one day where you have to be on your top performance, race to 80 points, and then guarantee that booyah for yourself. The guaranteeing the booyah for yourself is definitely the biggest question mark here. Not many squads have been able to do that. I think Falcons were pretty decent in terms of picking up all of their booyah so far, but we just haven't seen a lot of consistency. A little bit of an up and down play from Falcons, which has gotten me surprised as well, because some of the days where they really want to push, they can hit those big numbers.
In fact, they still hold one of the records, the record for one of the highest points gathered in a single round, right? Both days of Phase 2, though, they did place number 6, at least for day 1. They had 1 booyah. I think day 2, they didn't get any booyah, and they were hovering around, top 5 for only 3 out of the 6 rounds, which definitely felt a bit underwhelming considering that the average points that they got across both days is almost the same, which begs the question, right? What's the main difference between day 1 and day 2 competition? Has it really affected Falcons that much?
Yeah, today the map we'll go through Kalahari, Solara, Purgatory, Nextera, Bermuda, and of course we hit the randomizer for the final game that we'll be playing in here. And Kalahari is definitely going to be a big problem for some of these squads who just really haven't wrapped their head around as to how their snipers are going to go out there and help dominate these matches for them. It is the meta of the sniper this time round, and not many teams have really caught up with that, Husky.
And Kalahari, at least, what we've established so far is that it is no longer an Indonesian map, although still the Indonesian teams do make it to the final phase majority of the time, but it's good to see that the rest of the regions are catching up in how to navigate around that map. RQ, Kazu sometimes are too good at that they make a couple of whoopsies, but that's how the competition is. Our predictions, though, quite different this time. Usually we're on the same page, but I think today, aside from BRU, we have very different thoughts coming into this.
Yeah, absolutely. I think EVOS Divine might want to make that breakthrough early this time round. I mean, I think they've been monkeying around quite a lot out there on the battlefield. It doesn't seem like they are giving their best. During the group stage, I was a tad bit disappointed towards the very end, where I think on one of the days where they only picked up 10 points, which was ridiculous for a squad like EVOS Divine. They're the reigning defending champions of the Esports World Cup, and this is that competition that will be sending the teams to that exact competition, right? I think today is the day that they are going to rise up, but of course, I'm expecting to be disappointed at the same time as well.
I mean, there's a theory, right? I've been seeing the audience, they have this theory that since EVOS is guaranteed a spot no matter what, they could just muck around. They could fool around, get 0 points for all rounds and still make it the EWC. But I share your sentiment. I hope that is not the case. I still want them to perform at their best, because that at least shows that they're taking it seriously, right? Like you don't just mess around just because you get a free slot. It makes it worse if you go there and you continue to perform poorly. So I want to see EVOS make it through.
Yeah, man. I mean, you don't really want to carry on this performance in there towards the later end of things. And you also have to wonder exactly what EVOS Divine is thinking right now, because this is their opportunity to really, really practice all of their gameplay. And I dare say last year, again, I think I've said this many times already, without Rasya, I don't think the squad could have become champions, because the number of times this sniper had to rescue the squad was just insane, right? But he got the job done this time around, all thanks to OB53. It is the reign of the snipers once again, which really puts him in the driver's seat to get the squad up to the top. But I think the squad needs to be trying from the very get-go. There is another OB update that will come through though before the Esports World Cup, so fingers crossed the meta doesn't really have a heavy shift before we get there.
And you just look back at the history books, EVOS Divine has one of the best finishes in both years of EWC. Silver medalist in 24, gold medalist in 25. What more could you ask for from this organization? So if there's anything that people are looking from EVOS Divine, it's another top 3 finish minimum this year at EWC, but it has to start with the performing well on Kalahari for the spring season.
Well, first game, Kalahari, looks like the flight path is going to be skewed towards the left here. Santa Catarina is going to be a tad bit difficult to get to. We do know teams love playing at the Stone Ridge as well as Santa Catarina. Burera most probably heading out towards Stone Ridge, but they're going to be taking the long way around the edge of the zone. So this is going to be an interesting play coming through from them, because if Avita X KDC decides to go hunting outside towards Santa Catarina, there's going to be a big chance they bump into Buriram later on.
And even if BRU decides to make a rotation later on, they might still head towards command post, which is their usual route, and they might still run into a Avita X KDC. Aurora, though, starting off pretty well, fighting off against Argon MY, the same brothers, and go for a 1-4-1 trade so far.
Yeah, very interesting play there by Jun. I think he used that Valiant dash, but instead of breaking through the glue wall and running straight at his opponent, he bumped himself back and still got that mini Uzi shot. So, well played. I would like to see if or not he can replicate that movement once again, because it is interesting to be able to break down those defenses without putting yourself in a lot of risk. Aim God couldn't get away, and oh my goodness. Not looking good for EVOS at the get-go here. And Ray turning tails, running away. Onyx Olympus on the way in. Perhaps they could be that distraction that EVOS Divine needs now as Argon MY goes in for the pursuit.
Yeah, pretty unlucky for EVOS. They were sandwiched by both the Malaysian teams. But like you said, Onyx, Adam could start the chain reaction of bailing Ray out of this. But I think Argon MY, they have their eyes on the prize. Fixated on taking down Ray. And that, I think, is the smarter move. Now they can look to go for a retreat, bagging 3 points and wiping out EVOS.
Okay, looks like it's plan B. EVOS just wants to dominate the final week of qualifiers here. I mean, these guys are really not doing much in this matchup. But at the very start, those engagements look pretty weak on their side. And now Argon about to be put in a little bit of a pickle here. Great time turner by Noki. The pickup coming on through. Fires on the ground. Noki down, and Argon easy points off of EVOS, but Onyx just took that opportunity to smash all of them, being the third party in that situation.
Good news for everyone else, and now there's more space and resources on the map of Kalahari. Onyx definitely getting the last slot because you cash in 4 points at the start. I believe there's one on the side of Aurora as well, courtesy of Jun. Avita X KDC is getting themselves 1-2, but it does seem like Refinery will be the next battlefield. Tawan right there in it with Zuez getting a pan in the head.
Yeah, and Avita X KDC now finding control on this Refinery, looking for the Aurora players. Twisted Minds might just drop by to say hello here on that lower ground. Avita still has the advantage. Position they hold on to. Aurora might be able to get away with this distraction that Twisted Minds now brings towards Avita X KDC.
Another UAV was sent out. Early on was destroyed by Aurora, but the second one, I think Twisted Minds sniffed that out very early on. Not in Olympus, they also just touched down a Refinery. This UAV deployment is just at the right time to perhaps get some info for Avita X KDC. Aurora finds that mass revive, and they're going to relocate.
So quickly, 2 squads out of this Kalahari lobby. And it seems like one more might just make their way out here. If Avida can get the swift elimination of Twisted Minds, who don't look like they're going to be giving away easy points off to Avida. Great rotation so far, just sticking very close to the edge of the cliff. Onyx Olympus now pulling in yet another distraction, but I don't think they're going to get a surprise drop onto Avida XKDC, who have already spotted them, quickly repositioning with their glue walls, waiting for Onyx to take a step forward.
Very clumped up, and so far at least they are able to box themselves in, but I think Onyx Olympus are going to aggress forward. The utilities are going to be important. A couple of explosive might force AVD out, so they are going to take the launch pad and at least send one member out and away.
Oh, okay, all right, here comes Adam. Tawan! Oh, beautiful Valiant Dash glue wall drop, trapping the Onyx players behind. A phenomenal escape by Tawan. And Avida XKDC, with one survivor sent away, Anusit backing away from all of these engagements, perhaps looking for that revival if and in case this battle does go south. And Twisted Minds taking advantage from afar. Just watching all of this break down. 3 eliminations, instant recovery from Onyx Olympus. Crime gets annihilated right after he brings his brothers back. Unfortunate for Onyx, but they're still alive.
And unfortunately, Crime's body was ended up stolen away by someone from SE. So no cigar there for Twisted Minds and AVD. But overall, they use Onyx Olympus as a bait. They now know that Twisted Minds is nearby. A lightning zone formed on top of Refinery, so Twisted Minds will relocate to find some shelter. And they might run into Aurora MY again, who are still hanging around.
Yeah, absolutely. And Twisted Minds now, just 2 eliminations from that equation. They did manage to get the 3 drops earlier on. And they don't look like they want to put themselves in a little bit of a fix here by going all out just yet. Just taking these long shots from far away and playing it really smart on these refinery platforms. Those ziplines will help them quickly reposition, just waiting to see where some of these final circles will bring them towards. Aurora, on the other hand, close proximity to Shadow Esports. That engagement might show us the aggressive side of Aurora once again that I've been very surprised to see recently.
And they have been pretty successful in doing that too. They've been showing some very systematic execution, which, you know, we have been wanting to see from a domestic squad. And this time, let's see if they can show that again. Adam holding his breath as the members of Heavy just passes by and completely misses the presence of him there. So good news for Adam for now, but I think Heavy will hang around at Foundation.
Yeah, absolutely. And Adam...
Actually
getting lucky here. Mufasa and Don't Cry just running past, but Adam's like, hey, look at me! Getting up top, and C1 should have been able to spot him.
Yeah, they still don't see him.
Yeah, on that high ground as well. Adam is invisible without the Mars.
Well, keeping Onyx Olympus safe for now. I think the whole team was revived. I'm not sure if they brought Crime back, but at least they have 3 members still on the map. The circle though might and then end up betraying Adam because it is moving in. Adam actually fires a shot. Not the wisest thing to do, my friend. The whole team of Heavy is there and Adam hightails out of there.
Yeah, he probably knew that, okay, there's just no way I'm going to get out of this compound. Way too open. He couldn't try to sneak away though, but Adam now putting that attention towards himself. Probably going to be giving away his life to the players on the side of Heavy. On Heavy pursuit, Allen, M60 in his hands. Yes, a beautiful rain of bullets, and Don't Cry gets that final shot with the SVD. Adam's out. Crime brings him right back in.
That was probably the call. Crime telling Adam to just give himself up, and then he gets revived, and then they can easily relocate and then rotate together instead of Adam trying to get out of there. I don't think he has much resources on hand, so it's not too big of a loss overall. But it is good news for Heavy, who also have been doing not too shabby in Phase 2. They've come pretty close a couple of times.
Buriram Exposi, beautiful shot from afar. The M24 striking hard as always. Sana with the pickup. Oh, she's right back up on his feet. Twisted Minds. Just hitting everyone from a long range. Every single player, I believe, has got a long-range weapon on him. The M24, level 1 in the hands of Exposi. Probably wants to upgrade that as quickly as possible, but they're just not finding enough victims in front of them.
Still holding on to the perimeter of Refinery since just now. At least the outer edge on the southwestern side. They will be sharing quite an area with Aurora, and the Dinoculars out from both teams. So they do scan out each other respectively. The third one, I believe, was probably thrown out by either BRU or SE on top of the refinery compound itself. Flash and Heavy are about to bump into each other on the northern side. Falcons are also flying in. Refinery is going to be packed.
Here comes Heavy. Nate's tossed in. Beautiful play on the cryo mine. Tossed it perfectly towards the players on the side of Flash. Beautiful on the rotation as well. Here comes Mufasa and C-Twan. But Flash smartly played with those glue walls, backing away. Now ABCD in a little bit of a pickle. 3 players on the side of Heavy. Spotting him out, going for the chase. Valiant dash by Don't Cry, breaks down nothing. And Flash are out of there. Amazing rotation by Flash, but Aurora from the back taking advantage with the VSK. Axel finds one, Axel finds two. ABCD back up onto his feet. Zom could not save him. Axel finds another, and Don't Cry with the follow-up M590. Flash got away from Heavy for a few seconds, but Aurora just punished them from the back.
I think that was Heavy's plan all along, to just bomb rush the compound and flush Flash out into the open, into a lightning zone just now. And not only that, Heavy kept themselves safe and ended up pocketing a point or two for themselves. And on top of that, figuring out that there is a third party in the vicinity. So Heavy, big winners there, but Team Flash at least are still in it with that revive.
We have too many Thai squads alive and kicking here, and all of them are death dealers, right? You're looking at Avida XKDC as technically the weakest one, quote unquote, in the lobby from Thailand. But man, these guys are powerhouses for sure. You've got Buriram Falcons and Twisted Minds. Any one of these Thai squads could dominate today if they choose to play, because even Buriram's playing this so passive. They're not going out for these eliminations like we usually see Buriram do.
The past 2 days, they have been playing it pretty slow in the first half of the day, and then they start ramping up the engines, but they always fall short of a grand final spot because they took too long to sort of mow everyone down for those points.
Yeah,
I think today feels like that's gonna be the case. I think BRU, as much as they probably don't want to play an extra 3 days, at the same time don't mind playing extra 3 days just to get the practice in. You know these boys. I think they are a bit too obsessed with that competitiveness.
Yeah, Buriram still holds the record for the highest elimination match, the highest total collected in a match, 25 eliminations and the Booyah for a total of 37 points. That was on day 1 of our Sea Spring, and they just haven't shown up with that aggression or that level of aggression just yet, which is fairly entertaining and surprising. I want to see more out of Buriram though. Here comes the Cryo Mine out of Heavy. Aurora's going to deal with that for a little bit. They take the plushie out of the equation, not worrying too much about their position being revealed, as they've got a defensive spot to play here. No one can get to them with those shots just yet.
And Heavy now gets to hold priority over Refinery. Again, they should know that Aurora is nearby, and that is the only compound that they need to focus on. The glue wall placed down to not only shield themselves from Twisted Minds, but also gives them some good initiative over Aurora when the circle eventually closes in, which is highly the case by the next phase. And Aurora, if they do move now, there's a high chance they will have to run straight into Heavy.
What is up with this passive play, man? I want some aggression. ABCD, the God, both finding those knocks onto the WAG players. The third one comes through as well. All 4 players have been knocked down to the ground, but those pickups instantaneously coming on through as well, keeping the squad in. God manages to find one confirmation. Wang Am dropped again. But WAG playing it smartly with those glue walls, able to recover, and then a little bit of a response. Anusit taking out Tikui as well. WAG just losing too many numbers too early.
Oh, they're all
ABCD.
Half in the blue zone. ABCD will get a revive. He will go down as well. This is not good for Team Flash. They spent too long outside in the blue just as the next phase start. So Flash probably is going to meet an early end. I don't see any way out of this one, or at least back from that situation. Sequan somehow getting an incredible snipe onto Azrael. And that is going to stall out Aurora's rotation. They even tossed in a Cryo Mine as a bonus, but I think Aurora should be able to navigate that with June clearing the path forward with his blue walls.
Yeah, I really respect how Aurora has managed to go back into their good old classic form. Once again, making Malaysia really proud, but can they find the early qualifier? You definitely think so, Husky, that Aurora's going to make it today. I sure hope they do, as they find a potential rotation around to meet the players on the side of Twisted Minds, but Twisted Minds see this one coming, keeping their eyes on them. Both squads outside of the next zone, circles moving in. Aurora, Twisted, both need to make a decision now. And they need to avoid Heavy and Onyx whilst doing that.
And Aurora is in the more compromised position. I think the smartest move is actually to try and take down Twisted Minds if possible. But with how they have been planning their next move, they missed that window. Now with the blue zone closing in, I think the best way is just try to brute force this rotation, which is going to put them in the crosshairs of Heavy, and Twisted Mind knows that. All they usually dump in the face of Aurora, and Aurora stood no chance. They just hesitated too long.
And Twisted Minds just knew that one was coming, spotting out those plays way too early and playing their timing right, just refusing to get into the circle. But Aurora choosing to make the first move backfired big time on the squad. Shadow Esports, on the other hand, looking pretty shiny sitting down here on this refinery platform. They'll have to move in a little bit closer though, so that they end up in the next zone. 20 seconds to go before we just get absolute chaos. 10 squads alive in this refinery. What in the world is happening?
I'm as surprised as you are as well. I did say early on when we lost 2 teams in the first 2 minutes, there's going to be a lot of assets on the map, but I didn't expect it to end up with a 10 squad brawl at refinery. This has it's quite a rare sight, and that also means it's going to get incredibly bloody, with Heavy having one of the strongest spot right now, but BRU just smack dab in the center.
Oh, smart jump here. By jump, unintended. Nade! And Allen scores a triple with just 1 grenade. Holy mama, Heavy just got the big one.
That could not have been better. What a timing. It was smart, but Heavy, they were ready for that. I did say they had the best spot to basically keep track of Aurora and Twisted Minds, and it paid off big time. And now they can turn their attention to Shadow Esports, who is right opposite of them.
It's one of the best nades I've seen in a while.
You should clip that, by the way.
Yeah, man. Aurora out in 8th. Unfortunate for the Malaysian squad. Kind of annihilated by Twisted Minds initially, leaving one final survivor, and then Twisted Minds getting annihilated by Heavy in the circle. They had one god nade. Allen looking for another one off of the Shadow Esports player, setting out the Cryo Mine this time around. M79 going to come back in play shortly. Ice Grenades response by Shadow Esports. They still have a little bit of a compound here to play around with. And Shadow's going in for the rush. Here comes Rin with the M590. One as well. Valiant dashing through. Allen and Mufasa down on the ground. And Heavy now on the back foot. Seat1 is out of there. But can he get away? Tagged up one more time. Rin just not fighting him. And WAG puts the end to Heavy. Just unsuspecting events one after the other.
And this is the true definition of brute force. Everyone just equips a shotgun and go ham. I think Heavy, they were just not ready to do with that because the weapons that they had were more suited for long-range fights. So Shadow Esports having a very good move, and now they get to take hold of the center spot. But that also means they put themselves in the crosshairs of AVD, of BRU, of Falcons, who all know where they are. If they go downstairs, it's WAG.
And one right in front, and they're going to be rally dashing through all of those defenses, and WAG eaten up by Shadow Esports. Avita XKDC now taking advantage, but Shadow Esports erecting those glue walls, not enough to keep Avita away from themselves. Out in 5th is Shadow Esports, who just annihilated WAG on that drop.
And earlier you just say there are too many Thai teams, and guess what? Everyone in the final circle, except for Onyx Olympus, are Thais, and Avita have the best chance of winning this. 36% win rate, having the high ground, but the unfortunate thing is they will have to start their descent. Falcons have been sitting perched in the middle of that mountain for quite a while, but thanks to the blue zone, they also will have to drop to ground level. And BRU with the full squad available is going to be ready to receive this. Unfortunately, Long Kong ends up breaking his ankles.
A nice play here. Long Kong saved by Pablo, who ran straight in, put up a double glue wall. Picked his buddy right back up. Nobody going in for the follow-up as the Onyx players were too busy trying to down Falcon on the opposite end. Pina and Limit still alive and kicking here for the side of Falcons. Low in numbers. Buriram looking geared for this booyah, but they'll have to deal with Onyx Olympus first. A one knocks Pina down to the ground. Here comes the ice grenades. Follow-up from the side of Avita XKDC, and Falcons out of the equation. Buriram now need to make this decision. Do they want to go in for Onyx, or do they deal with Avita XKDC from the opposite side of the battlefield? Blue wall melters being laid out. Buriram in trouble.
And Avita with the Blue Wall Melters is gonna inconvenience BRU the best they can. And Basana is gonna go straight in alone, and that's gonna give Pablo an instant knockdown. And now BRU, they're gonna start losing numbers because Onyx also have their attention on the ties. ABD takes this opportunity to go for the rush. BRU will have to make a choice. Onyx will take this chance to relocate as the ties end up infighting.
Yeah, Moshi tried to jump away with the hook gun, but he just gets sprayed down with the SMG. MP5 perfection off of Avida X KDC. 2v3 though. Onyx Olympus have the advantage with the numbers, but they go outside the circle, trying to play a little bit of an advantage. And Demons now up against the 1v1. M590, the one still gets away with it. Demons takes a little bit of damage off of the circle, but he's right back in it. The one patching himself right back up. The 1v1, Demons right up on top. The one looking up could not find the connection off of that shot. And Demon's now going to leave him to the circle for the damage.
And to find the finisher in the end as well. Surgically dismantling the final circle. Onyx Olympus doing a fantastic job with that strategic approach. And they deserve this booyah for sure. 12 fat points in the pocket from the placements. And I think should be double digits elimination too.
Yeah, let us not forget, they are the reigning defending champions of Sea Spring from last year, where they just shocked the world getting into the grand finals. One of the last teams to make it there, and then running away with the championship and 100k USD. Can they do it once again? Well, if they keep this cool, calm, collected, composed version of themselves, there's no doubt they're going to be able to go back-to-back Sea Spring champions.
Very, very possible. A couple of things in that final circle that felt like it really altered the course of a possible ABD or BRU ending, especially when BRU is the only team with the full squad left alive. First of all, I hope there's no miscom there. The fact that Wasana decided to just solo ramble the whole squad of ABD felt a bit weird, kind of gave away the advantage that they had. But Onyx Olympus's response to what BRU did, I think, was the best, right? BRU turned their attention to Onyx. Onyx fought back, and then ABD thought that was their time. And then the moment ABD show up, Onyx Olympus just let it happen.
Yeah, and the blessing for Onyx here as well is the fact that this is their best map. They played it really well. I think the rotations were really tight, and they didn't make any mistakes in terms of just going out there for an early engagement, right? They could have just bumped into Buriram a little bit earlier, but they just chose to play their advantage. They knew they were the furthest away from Avida X KDC that was being very aggressive on the opposite side. They didn't want to deal with Falcons, and that was the right decision. Buriram ended up going down first.
Yep, and after that, I think both Onyx and ABD actually ended up, fighting outside the circle for a bit. But in the very end, Adam just recognized the situation, right?
Yeah.
It didn't need to fight, not Adam, Demon didn't need to fight at all. Just needs the blue zone to do the work for him. We saw him boxing in his final opponent with just a glue wall, and that itself sealed the fate for Onyx Olympus. Overall, I think ABD and Onyx Olympus, especially ABD so far, the underdogs of Thailand, the weakest team, in quotation marks, finishing top 2, incredibly impressive.
Yeah, Demon, the youngest player, not by age, but in terms of tenureship, the newest player, I have to say, on the side of Onyx Olympus, definitely showing that he has earned his spot here. But he is the substitute on the side of Onyx Olympus. It's good to see that even when they bring their sub in, they're still as effective, like a well-oiled machine. They're making the right decisions out there. Good to see that in the overall grand scheme of things, they are able to kind of guarantee some points here on the map where they're really good at, right? Now, when you look at other maps like Solara or Purgatory, this is where Onyx really suffers the most. So we'll have to see exactly how they take this next game. We are looking at Solara being the very next map after this Kalahari, which has a big problem for Onyx Olympus. This could be that booyah curse for them once again. They have to find a way to survive towards that final circle after this.
It has always been a struggle for Onyx Olympus to clear out some of the newer maps. I think Solara, for them in particular, will be the true test, like you said. But that also means that Onyx Olympus, if there's anything that they need to focus on, is to do what they did on this match, right? They're not really involved in a lot of these early conflicts. Most of the time we saw them prior to the final circle was at the start of the game, and and even then they were vulturing, right? They came in, grabbed 4 points, and we never saw them again.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And of course, very, very slow game on this Kalahari map, which I'm absolutely surprised about. I would have expected a little bit more aggression out there. It seems like these teams don't want to get annihilated early, right? I'm a little confused though. I am looking at safe plays. I'm looking at teams who are not very motivated to make that early qualifier, still playing safe. So it's a little bit of playing both ends. Do you want to qualify or do you not want to qualify? Do you want to go all out? It seems like some of them might just want to guarantee those points for themselves. Looking at how slow-paced this one is, I'm a little uncomfortable. I want some fast-paced action, Husky.
And I think the Thai teams probably would give us that. At least I'm looking at AVDX KDC with how they dominated this Kalahari map. They were playing pretty fast.
Yeah.
But for Onyx Olympus, this is the line that they work with. You did say that it's quite surprising that some teams still roll with the Coda.
Yeah.
And it is Adam is one of them.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, because information play, detecting those plays definitely got a nerf, but Coda, not a super big nerf onto this Coda. Only used by squads that are looking for those very aggressive pushes. And if you look at the lineup of active skills here, that's exactly what Onyx is setting themselves up for with the Valiant Dash off of Oscar, Skylar and Cassie. That's Cassie combination with Demons powering up that Valiant Dash and that Oscar obviously is a very big play that we've seen out of many of these squads. But having Adam with that Aurora Vision definitely gives them a big boost as well. Now, this guy does run that Olivia. He is responsible for healing up some of his team members as well. And you don't see a lot of numbers off of Onyx Olympus, but I don't blame them. Overall, this was a very slow game for many of these squads out there. And in the grand scheme of things, I think Demons definitely needs to step up a little bit of his play. He's playing that Valiant Dash. He's the front runner who's being backed up with that Cassie, but you don't see a lot of damage output from him.
I think today was, at least this game one was definitely more of a litmus test. Hopefully it's just a litmus test. Most of the work was done by Adam and Crime, especially Crime, who gave Onyx Olympus a second wind in this round. If not for the mass revive after a disastrous encounter at a refinery, Onyx Olympus would have been wiped out. So a lot of things came together for Onyx Olympus. The fact that they were able to recover mid-game and still ended up getting the booyah is going to be a big morale boost.
Yeah, no doubt at all. But of course, Onyx Olympus getting this first booyah technically means nothing because very little points picked up in the overall grand scheme of things, right? Only a total of 21. And if you look at the very top, it's Avita x KDC that overtakes them. And in that number one spot with a total of 26 points because of those eliminations. A very heavy game for Avita x KDC. Playing this smartly, we saw quite a number of those engagements that went their way. Even Falcons got down by them in that final circle. Buriram met their bitter end as well in the hands of Avita x KDC. And you gotta feel proud of this squad, man. They made it through from that second tier competition within Thailand, then went on to dominate their first tier and now are here in the Southeast Asian League, showing that they can dominate here as well. But consistency is key, and we haven't seen that out of Avita just yet.
Yeah. But the one thing that they have shown is the ferocity, right?
Yeah.
They have what it takes in them to give us some good rounds, to put up a fight against some of the top teams in the region that have been doing this for a very long time. Contrary to maybe the past year where every single regional league we get a new team from tier 2, they have been struggling a bit. But Avita x KDC might be that rare case, the team that has been cooking for a long time, that have been nurturing each other and now are here to take over.
Yeah, absolutely, man. And EVOS Divine right at the bottom with no points picked up whatsoever. A little bit disappointed, and of course you can blame the Malaysian squad for that. Argon picked on them very early on that hot drop, and it seemed like EVOS Divine just did not want to fight back. And obviously they didn't really have the best of weapons on them in that situation. And later on we saw Argon themselves get annihilated early. So early pickings in terms of elimination points, but they themselves got picked on in that particular situation. Not the best for the Malaysian squad, but that's just the first game of the day. We've got 5 more to go.
5 more to go, and that means everyone still has a chance, regardless of the standings in game 1. Again, Solara is probably where things are going to be flipped on its head. Aurora still looking for a bounce back. Yesterday they did finish dead last unfortunately, and this game 1 start isn't exactly what they were hoping for, but there's still time for them to make that recovery. I think one of the biggest challenges that has plagued Aurora was these rotations, right? They fight well, they're very smart in how they take on these encounters, but it's just the rotation and when they need to make split-second decisions, that's what gets them.
Yeah, I think in the grand scheme of things, Aurora's a solid squad from Malaysia, and they have been proving in this particular competition that they have got what it takes to not... I don't know whether or not the early qualifier is going to be on their side just yet, but they have proven that they have got what it takes to qualify for the Esports World Cup. Kalahari's not their best map. I think Axel, although it is a meta that favors him as the sniper of the squad, has not been on his very best play, but the blessing for Aurora is they have got everybody else souped up. Now, although I say Axel's not on his best play, he's still the highest eliminator on the Aurora squad, which is great for him, right? If he ramps it up a little bit more, I think Aurora is going to be dominating those number one spots. Is it going to be today? We'll still have to wait and see. If Kalahari is not their best map, I think they're going to struggle a little bit more, because when we go into Solara, that is Aurora's worst map of the lot. They haven't performed on Solara at all so far. So I'm really not looking forward to that one as a Malaysian fan.
Yeah, not at all. Same as Onyx, but the Onyx blessing is that they at least got a good head start.
Yes.
I'd say, you know, for Aurora, there's definitely some things to look back at as well. We look, especially last year, Malaysian team missed out qualifications to EWC by 2 spots, despite us having 9 slots. This year feels like it is the closest, but I might be saying that too early, which is why I want to see more from Aurora, just like you do, AJ. And now the true test begins. We're going into Solara, we're looking at Onyx, we're looking at Aurora to step up.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, the teams that usually perform well here, you're looking at teams like Heavy, teams like Buriram, as well as Flash. And although Flash performs well on this map, they've not picked up a single booyah on Solara just yet, unlike Heavy and Buriram. So let's see if another Vietnamese squad can rise up to get that done this time around, because I'm fairly sure Heavy wants that early qualifier into the grand finals.
This time it's a more generous flight path right down the middle from the southwestern side to northeast, and BRU straight away heading to the hub. They won't be any sort of contention at all, and that's something that BRU has been cultivating within the team for the longest of time. Not only have they garnered the respect of every other competitor to not hot drop them, but they also choose spots that allow them to freely choose their next rotation path, which not many teams have the luxury of doing, because a lot of times you just end up in the middle of a cluster, and in this case, ABD might just bump into Aurora.
And let's see if Avida can get out of this one, because Aurora was there with the early drop. They've got the preferred weapons probably in their hands already. Pablo's not spotted out just yet. Still cheeky enough to hit that coin machine. The rest of the players on the side of Avida already bumping into Aurora. Tawan is there. Axel spotting one out with the cord. You don't want to get too close. Cryo Mine tagging up Long Kong. Taking a little bit of HP away from him. Axel with the nail down. And here comes Suez as well. M590. Valiant dash breaking down the wrong defense here. Tawan with a big mistake. Pablo's going to get caught out. Long Kong backing away. Tawan with a sliver of health. And from far away, they knock him down. Avida XKDC now getting capped by the Aurora players. And Long Kong almost turned that one around before Jun got that final save. But now in a 1v1, Aim God up against Jun. Evos Divine sorts out Aurora. And Evos as the third party, just showing up at the wrong time here for Aurora's luck. And they secure 3 eliminations off of that.
Can't even blame Aurora for that. Evos exacts their revenge. The previous round, it was Aurora and Argon MY that resulted in Evos' early exit. And now the tables have turned. And even though we did say that Aurora's worst map is Solara, it definitely isn't to this extent. It's just a stroke of bad luck. Aurora will have 4 more rounds to catch up with to the points. But for Evos, good news for them. Now they get to start their road to recovery.
Well, I did say this is their worst map, so they just proved that again. But yeah, definitely a good fair share of bad luck there. Aurora almost went in there for the squad wipe. 3 eliminations, and Avida actually makes it away from the compound. Full squad once again, thanks to those revivals pulled in. Heavy on the other hand, losing one player after the other. Alan all alone now. One more survivor. Can he get away? As PLS1 moves on in to loot up these players.
Heavy managing to get out with the skin of the teeth. Alan getting a 2-man revive to keep the run going. Argon MY though will have to face off against Shadow Esports, who in the previous round did show that they can be brutal and ruthless with this CQC, and
Oi.
Rin is going to try to cut off their escape. The vehicular escape, unfortunately, not working out in Argon MY's favor, and now the members are separated. Juan in a 1v1. Traps wins that one with assistance from his teammates.
Oh, wonderful MP40 spray there. One gets it. Rin now moving on in. Shadow Esports backing away from Argon, who don't really have a good defensive spot. They're out in the open. But it looks like Shadow's not ready for engagement just yet, and this is going to allow Argon to cut the distance. Traps spotted out. VSK not finding those connections. And Rin now with the M590 on standby, but here comes the Argon squad. They've got the numbers, and the time turner pops on out, giving them the advantage. Cincy all alone up top. Traps down on the ground. Two players of Argon. They need to be saved. Grenade coming on in, and Argon still haven't managed to sort this out yet. The electrotherapy is going to get dropped. Rin down does not have that advantage, but he still moves on in to find that rescue. The glue wall is going to be keeping him away from the rest of his team members, and Argon looking for those pickups. They will find it. Rin just hasn't gotten the job done just yet, and Valiant Dash perfectly timed by Aleph to take Rin out of the equation, and Argon played that very smartly with their defenses.
Very good triple tag team there for Argon. Buying time and making sure that they don't give Rin those isolated 1v1s increases their odds of winning by 2 folds. But Shadow Esports still in the running with one remaining survivor. Heavy, who did have to do a bit of recovery in the early game, now will have to run into Onyx Olympus. Another team that you highlighted performs poorly on this map. And Adam about to get the free shot. Unfortunately, not a headshot though. And a bit of a missed opportunity. But the rest of Onyx are still collapsing in. So there is a chance that they can overwhelm Heavy.
He had a free one there. Just wanted to force the headshot to get a one-shot downer. And totally misses the opportunity. Grenade. Valiant Dash to avoid it. Don't cry. Low in HP. Onyx Olympus still with the advantage here. Up against Heavy. Don't cry needs to get away, but not using the medkit probably because he has none. Demons needs to go back to driving school.
Yep,
Onyx Olympus. Yeah.
It's I mean, not only did they miss an opportunity, now they are gonna have to go on the run.
True enough, and players on the revive, Heavy on the recovery. Onyx Olympus actually not tickled much by the situation. They're gonna be backing away, and Heavy gets a chance to recover here off of the Arsenal.
Onyx doesn't seem like they want to back down, but they do buy enough distance to give themselves more breathing room. In fact, they're going to leave Heavy alone after that failed attempt. VRU will now have to face off against WAG. A matchup as old as time. WAG do have the upper hand with that high ground advantage. And all eyes will be on Moshi and Jonah to see if they can catch some of these snipers off guard.
Although Aurora is kind of biting the dust here on this match, this is the best performance this squad has had in the past 2 years. It's a little unfortunate this Solara map's just not their flavor, so we'll have to wait and see what else they can do in the remaining 4 games. Lightning Zone called out here, most probably by WAG. Smartly played by the Vietnamese squad, forcing Buriram back. No, actually, I think it's a Buriram Lightning Zone, as WAG looks for the cover! And Jonah, what a nade! Drops one arm, but easy pickup by Nan7, and Buriram not going in for the push just yet. Jonah? Did the bullet ricochet?
Both times, was it a lightning zone or something? But he did knock himself down twice. Get high was able to pick him up both times. But now the lightning zone has expired. BRU gets to cover more ground, and Jonah might have found a way to sandwich WAG in this building. Get High follows up on that too.
Oh, Nani.
Wasana is in position.
Okay, Get High. Osana, Jonah all stacking. Moshi looking from afar. The AWM in hand. Moshi, now's your opportunity though. Tikui tag. 1-2. Beautiful shot by Moshi. 1 down. 2 more to go. All the players land. And Tikui is that victim that Buriram is able to farm off of WAG, who manages to escape, at least for the moment.
And at the end of this, none the wiser, WAG will end up losing Tikui, unfortunately. The rest of the team will get out scot-free, and BRU takes control of Bloomtown. A more different rotation from what we usually see from them, but again, their opening drop zone does give them the freedom to choose wherever they want to head to, and WAG, the unlucky recipient of the movement, but they did find a vehicle to not only get a revive on a nearby vending machine, but also to relocate themselves. So BRU will be able to not only slow the game down, but actually loot up for the mid to late game.
I'm really not a big fan of that rush off of Buriram. Just doesn't seem like the classic Buriram in terms of pacing. Usually they would have been able to get there a little bit faster and finish the job. WAG getting away from that situation. Beautiful! On arrival, Moshi. That's the speed I'm talking about. Picking up the pace finally here. And the rest of WAG is going to be pursued by Buriram. Jonas keeping an eye on them. The rest of the Buriram players are a little slow to catch up with him, and Jonah's going to be in a little bit of trouble. He's got the charge buster though, meets all three players at the same time, and the rest of the Buriram players showing up perfectly. Valiant Dash breaking down those defenses as well. Wang at the vending machine, brings in Nan7 right back in, and Get High drops him. Buriram just farming points off of the WAG players.
Wow, Buriram covered so much ground. Good on them because they did have a vehicle to work with, but the fact that Jonah went ahead as a scouting party alone to find out where WAG is and relay that info. And not only that, keeping WAG engaged enough for the rest of the team to arrive. Again, classic BRU intelligence there. Unfortunate for WAG. Normally, a team would have gotten away with the resources that they have, but not from BRU, who now will have to make quite a long rotation from the southwestern side of the map into the circle. But they are going to scan out Eco Drain, and unfortunately, that's where the newly revived member of WAG is at.
Yeah, man. And the Dinoculars, I don't think, got that information. Still showed that 0 when we spotted it. But Buriram, they've got the slide rails to find a quick reposition towards Eco Drain. WAG should be able to pull off these revivals in the nick of time here off of PLS1, who does manage to loot up a couple of coin machines. Buriram not getting aggressive just yet, but spending a lot of time outside in the blue zone, tanking this damage, all thanks to a little bit of a backup here off those team boosters. WAG might be in a little bit of trouble here if they don't get out of Eco Drain as quickly as possible through PLS1. Onyx, on the other hand, have already found a defensive spot, but they'll have to fight for this one up against Twisted and Flash in a couple of moments.
And for Team Flash, they should have some room to work with on the second floor, and Twisted Minds wouldn't be looking to rotate at all. That means that Onyx Olympus, who are on the nearby building, could end up swooping in and getting another moment where they voucher up some of these points. With the next circle closing in and not affecting any of them, this will be a standoff for quite a while unless Twisted Minds pull the trigger. As for Flash, they will have to keep an eye at this window, and that's where Falcons are at. Falcons preoccupied with Shadow Esports. One, unfortunately, becomes a victim of that. Falcon cashes in on their first, but they have a chance to go for more.
Yeah, beautiful play there for the Car 98. Shadow Esports in a little bit of trouble. Before Juan got taken out, he had 11 full squads, and now Shadow Esports outnumbered here by Falcons. Sin is down. Shinzi still alive. Kororo whipping out the M79. That's a little bit of an overkill. And Pina says, don't waste your grenades just yet. The M590 does the trick, and Shadow Esport out in 11th. We've got 10 stacked squads here.
Yeah. Just like game number 1. Slow start to a chaotic end. Possibility this time. Again, fourth phase will be starting in just a little bit. Team Flash still barricaded up on the second floor and at least isolating some of the sight lines that they need to take care of. But there are a couple of angles that they need to watch out, not just where Falcons is coming from. There's a chance that WAG's rotation might end up disrupting Flash's plan as well. Onyx Olympus could always spoil the party if they decide to start dumping utilities through the windows. That makes Twisted Minds' position the safer spot to be in.
Yeah, absolutely. Nobody's going to go rushing on in just yet, all thanks to the team right above them. We'll be peppering them down with those shots. Falcons finds a easy rotation out in the open towards this next safe zone here. Not going to be disturbed by anyone just yet except the squad pursuing them. Argon up against the squad of Buriram. Get High getting behind some solid defense here. Wasana moving on forward. Valiant dashes through, opening up the fight for the rest of the Buriram players. Get High taking advantage of that opener. And now Traps pulling in the attention. And Falcons dropping in right behind. Looking for the Argon player. Will be able to smash him. Taking Argon out in 10th. But now this is danger zone for Buriram as Falcons looks for those numbers. And they get out of there with a jump pad. Evos with the advantage. They don't get those shots in though.
This should be free, right? This should be Evos. I will be shocked if Wasana gets out of this. Don't get high. It's a 2v4, but then again, it's BRU. We'll check back on that in just a little bit. Right now, they have stirred the Hornet's Nest earlier on, and Falcons ending up having to deal with Heavy. Falcons having some high ground advantage, and they will be able to keep Heavy all the way as they try to make that rotation into the zone. Limit even goes unseen and invisible for now, and that is going to give his team a bit of leeway. Onyx Olympus wouldn't know what hit him, same as Heavy. Limit gets into a good position behind cover. Can't say the same for Hong Kong though. Wasana just swings the corner and knocks him down. Anusin next on the chopping block. Challenged by Wasana. Backup is there, but Get High dismantles that in an instant. Tawan and Pablo was able to respond in kind, and BRU removed from the game.
Buriram out in 9. That's unfortunate. Tawan down. Riptide Rhythm breaks down those defenses. Aim God moves on in to make sure Tawan's not going to get picked up here. Barricaded in, Anusit in a little bit of trouble. Rasia looking for the shots, but he's not going to find them through the M82B just yet. Aim God with the M590 hops on forward and gets a double for the EVOS squad. This is EVOS Divine waking up.
And just pure aggression. Very well done, recognizing the situation, and that ABD just did not have time to recompose themselves for another incoming full team fight. Taking advantage of that, and not only so, freeing themselves up on the northeastern side of the circle. Now a three-way fight between 3 different nations. Flash, Onyx, and Twisted Minds.
It's a 7-way fight by technically looking at the amount of space we've got to mess around with here and the number of squads. This is just pure pandemonium waiting to break out. Flash at the outside looking for Twisted Minds. Split Blitz will not find the connection. That one grenade does land right in front of Diamond, and the glue wall will make sure they stay safe. But ABCD gets a double, and Zyro steals that away. Knocks himself down in the same process, but he'll get picked right back up. Onyx Olympus, the biggest winner of that equation. Effort of a Flash, but the benefits to Onyx.
Onyx Olympus hitting a jackpot, having the right weaponry for these close quarter combat. Evos does show up on the kill feed as him and Team Flash engaged in a long-range shootout, but for Onyx Olympus, they have the cover of the compound, and everyone else who wants to move on forward will have to deal with their defense. Twisted Minds ending their run in 7, and another cramp space fight ending in the favor of Falcons as Heavy gets knocked out in 6.
Oh, great recovery by Falcons here. Players picked up right on time, and thankfully they were within the circle because the damage off the blue would have been deadly. But EVOS Divine now approaching the Falcon squad. We need to see that fight. Flash and Onyx have not engaged just yet, but Onyx Olympus might just be able to do some deadly work here. Adam finds ABCD. Flash in a little bit of a pickle. The rest of the squad backs away, and Onyx not getting aggressive just yet. The Valiant Dash is on cooldown. They need to buy some time here, and Zyro whips out the M79 to do exactly that. But what is this? Onyx going straight in for the run. They don't care. Gets tagged up by the Cryo Mine. Demons dropped by Rasia from afar. AWM drops Zyro as well. Rasia on the double, and EVOS Divine taking advantage with that high ground.
The urgency of the circle closure is forcing Onyx to not only run out into the open, but with no wriggle room to fall back onto. Felt like they could have done it earlier, just like in the previous round where the hesitancy of Aurora MY costed them a bit of a chance, and Onyx Olympus just like that fell in the 5th spot, and that gives some room for Falcons and EVOS Divine to keep on fortifying their spot, with Falcons having the best odds right now because they have EVOS in their crosshairs and they have majority of the circle possession.
Oh, Rasia nailed down by Pina here. Unfortunate, but those glue walls should be able to help the squad save him. Aim God going on prone. Rasia back up on his feet. Aim God, don't peek just yet. Good glue wall. Saves himself the trouble. Or in fact, saved the squad from the trouble of picking him up from the ground. And great rotation by EVOS Divine. Not allowing Falcons to nick off those points from them.
Falcons is such a strong spot right now. EVOS able to find themselves another compound, but when the circle starts closing in, it will be EVOS and WAG who will have to make the first move. And Falcons would not need to do anything. Pretty smart of them to not have anyone on the roof and just play with the balcony, because there is a chance that the third team, in this case WAG, could cause some problems. Monster Truck being called down as well. EVOS could definitely use some extra cover to walk out onto the open.
Great position here for EVOS and Falcons. WAG are going to be pressured by the circle. Falcons won't need to move so early. EVOS will have to reposition though. And Falcons just on the opposite side of this building, which means EVOS does have a little bit of wiggle room. WAG spotted out. And they are going to be the distraction. EVOS, do they move once they start hearing these gunshots, or do they wait this out and tank the blue? I don't think they can afford this. Racha keeping an eye on them. EVOS needs to take them out of the equation here with a couple of grenades. But they drop the glue wall. And this is going to be that distraction that gives WAG the opening to rotate.
And Falcons, so far, not able to split their attention, so they end up surrendering the ground floor to EVOS and turn their attention over to WAG. Well, a lot more manageable considering that they have almost no more utilities left and only 2 members left alive. But that means that EVOS now gets to dictate where the fight happens. Because when the circle closes in, it's Falcons. They will have to make the move from the second floor, and that does give EVOS some room to plot their response.
But now the pressure, WAG will have to move once again, and Racha taking advantage of the situation takes Wangam out of the equation. Pina drops those shots as well. And now EVOS right outside. Aim God looking for one. Great glue wall layers here. Ray finds Pina with the first M590 shot. And the ice grenade is going to be forcing back the Falcon players. Ray taking advantage. Pina, Valiant Dash is out of trouble. Still alive. Ray down on the ground. Kochil going in for the pickup. And the backstab here by the Falcon player. Pina still dropped by Kochil. Unable to pick Ray up just yet. Who's crawling right behind. Riptide Rhythm breaks down the defenses. And Kochil not enough HP to sustain himself on the battlefield. As Falcons pick up a solid booyah off of Solara.
Masterful tactics from Team Falcons, understanding that they have no choice but to make the first move, but they take control of their own fate by blocking off majority of the exits and forcing EVOS Divine to funnel out one spot. And not only that, creating a situation where EVOS Divine are forced to run towards them. Of course, the Riptide Rhythm towards the very end, I think, should be from EVOS Divine to try and break free from the labyrinth. Ended up costing them. Falcons just had more control, more open area to work with, and just better aim in this gunfight.
Yeah, definitely by EVOS, and that was the wrong play there in the grand scheme of things, because it just didn't remove the glue walls that was convenient for themselves. It removed all the glue walls, opening themselves up to the shots off of the Falcon players. But it was a stacked lobby in terms of numbers. I think we were in towards the second final circle. Still 7 squads alive and kicking. It's just all out chaos. Buriram didn't really get too far at all. But Falcons and EVOS both showing us that they are here potentially to find the early qualifier.
And Falcons is looking very good. These kind of rounds, they do something to a team like Falcons. They make Falcons play a whole lot better afterwards.
Yes.
And it only gets better because we are past Solara, and for the rest of the maps is where Falcons strive. Now we got Bermuda, we still got Purgatory. Falcons love the odds. The only one that is going to be a question mark is Nextera, but in the grand scheme of things, Falcons aren't too poor on that map either.
Yeah, 2-time Southeast Asian champions, the Sea Spring 2024 champions, and Sea Fall 2025 champions Falcons are, and of course the 2024 EWC, the inaugural EWC champions as well, Falcons, but they haven't really been as dominant ever since then. We saw them get into the global finals last year, only managed to clock in the 6th spot. In the grand scheme of things, in the world stage, getting the 6th spot is not too bad at all. Even the prize pool was fairly decent, but I think they're going to aim for another EWC championship once again, and this is them gearing themselves up. If they get to pull it off, it's going to be a repeat of what we saw back in 2024, where they got the championship in Sea Spring and went on to EWC. But of course, that's easier said than done, because the competition is as alive as it has ever been. I think it's so much more difficult now to guarantee yourself a spot up at the top, Husky.
On top of that, there are only 2 teams, I think, right now that are missing 1 trophy before they complete the whole cabinet, like the whole series, right? It's like collecting rare TCG cards. For BRU, it's an EWC trophy, and for Falcons, it's a FFWS Global Finals trophy. Yes. And in this case, we have split them into Clash Squad and Battle Royale, but either one is going to be good enough to make up the series. And that is a crazy thought, right? If Falcons could win another Spring and then another EWC, they are going to be up there as the 2nd greatest team after BRU.
I absolutely agree with you. with you, right? But of course, Buriram has always focused on the global finals. 3-time world champs. They want to make themselves a 4-time world champ. But of course, we have to take that conversation towards the end of the year. The bigger focus now, Sea Spring as well as the Esports World Cup. A big question mark for the Esports World Cup because of how these squads are dealing with the current meta changes. And I think many squads have been able to cope really well with the changes, right? And bringing the snipers right back into attention, I think, is one of the best things here for Russia out of EVOS Divine. But I think a couple of more players on the side of EVOS needs to pick up the sniper play as well. I mean, we're even seeing Wasana on the snipers now.
Yeah, and it's just, I think overall it's just so good, right? The last time we had a sniper meta, all you see are a Car 98, AWM, anything that gives you a long range advantage.
Yep.
And it brings us back to, I think, 2023 or 2024, around that era, where most fights don't even end in close quarter combats, right?
Yeah.
It resolves in the first few shots. That's how powerful snipers can be. And if that is going to be the norm for the rest of spring, and perhaps it's heading into EWC, I agree with you. I think it's high time teams start mastering these long-range fight, right? You win the war of attrition before things get dicey. The further you can keep an enemy away, the higher the chances you have of winning.
Yeah, I don't think the OB updates have been as important as it has been in the recent times, and we are definitely keeping our eyes on that to see if or not the meta has a huge shift. But top 5 eliminations here, you see the Falcon players getting up their Pina as well as Limit, 11 just between them. EVOS Divine has got Aim God making his way up with the 6 eliminations as well. A great game for EVOS after not really performing big time out there. You see the combination of Oscar, Coda, Chrono, Morse. Once again, Coda back in the conversation, and it seems like it's working well for these players whenever they want to go in for that very aggressive approach. But the funny thing here is Limit X7 hasn't really been abusing the Morse. The stealth fights have just been used to reposition together with the rest of the team members as well as stay alive, but not really put him in a position where he's taking these risky moves out there because of the number of survivors so late into the game.
And on top of that, they also don't really have the tools that make him feel safe enough to take those risky moves, right? Like a lot of teams, they go for like A124, they have a Cassie, to a certain degree, even the Nero as well, to give you some sort of zone control. For Falcons, it's more of controlling their own safe zone, right? Chrono, the Oscar for the Valiant Dash in case they need to go fast. But what Limit has with the Morse is definitely that extra lifeline when things get hairy. It's, again, one of the unique dynamics that is enabled because of our current tournament rules of one unique active skills. I think what Falcons have built for themselves definitely is not following the norm, but it's unique enough to give themselves an edge and place directly into their preferred playstyle.
Yes, so much more dynamic compositions off of these active skills are giving us these beautiful games where it's forcing teams to really think creatively, like how they approach each and every single battle out there. But Falcons definitely had a great game here. 16 eliminations strong. The only squad with a double-digit elimination. Very impressive off of the Falcon squad. Off of a lobby that was very difficult to find numbers in the first place because of how safe the other teams were playing this all throughout. They get a 28 bomber. EVOS Divine right behind them with the 18, Secret WAG with the 14 points, and towards the bottom, this is where I have got a little bit of a question mark for Aurora Gaming. Yes, I expected this to be a challenging map for them to play, but if you want to compare their run up against Onyx, who is also very weak on the Solara map, Onyx performs so much better in terms of survivability.
And it was, again, a string of unfortunate events for Aurora Gaming, right? They almost won a 4v4 in the early game and then ended up getting wiped out by EVOS, who just so happened to be in proximity, but it does set Aurora back by a lot. Only sitting at 8 points, and with Argon MY right on top of them with 1 point extra. It's going to be a rough rest of the night. There's a good chance that they won't do enough to make it the top 2, but I still want to see them continue putting up a fight.
Yeah, I mean, 4 more games to go. I think Aurora still should be able to shift the tides towards themselves just to give them a little bit of an extra boost as they try to swim through this ocean up against these other squads who look like they are pretty solid for the day. Falcons and Onyx right up at the top. Top 2 teams from today will move on to the grand finals. That early access ticket is available only to the top 2 squads. You've seen this same storyline for the past 2 days as well on this week 3. That's what these squads are all vying for. VDX KDC very close to it. Buriram, surprisingly, still far from achieving that condition for themselves.
And VRU themselves haven't been finishing in the... Well, they finished 3rd, in round 1, but round 2 they actually got wiped out pretty early. So
Yeah.
unfortunate for BRU, but it's something that we are slowly starting to get used to because of the first 2 days.
Yeah.
But I think it's fine, right? It would be quite a shocker if BRU doesn't make it today and finishes bottom 6 the next weekend. That would be the biggest surprise the scene has ever seen this year, which I don't think is possible by any metric. Even Doctor Strange with the Time Stone won't convince me that is a possibility. So I think they're in good hands.
Yeah, absolutely. I think they are in good hands. These players are more than capable of getting into the grand finals. It's just that they are being quite cheeky in terms of how they want to get there. Maybe just like EVOS, they want to try dominating the final week. I pity the squads who are going to get into the final week with these monsters, man, because yes, limited spots available, and not all of the squads who have gotten the early access are monstrous squads, right? Gao, they're good, but they're not monstrous. They're quite inconsistent with their play sometimes, and they've already gotten the early access. AG Global, decent squad, but a little up and down in terms of the statistics as well. These heavy-hitting, capable squads like Falcons, EVOS, Buriram are still alive and kicking here. I am worried for the squads that are going to get into week number 4 for play.
Yeah, I mean, Danley asked me like 2 days ago, what do I prefer as the better approach, right? Do I want to go into the grand finals as fast as I can, or do I want to get some extra games in as practice to get myself warmed up for the finals? And I say I like to play safe. I like to be the first one to get there, so that I avoid the worst case scenario. If I have to play week 4 and then BRU is there, my chances are gonna go out in smoke. So I don't want that.
Imagine if you get to week 4 and your whole squad has diarrhea on the day. I don't know. That's a GG right there. But
that's an act of God, you know.
It's diabolical for sure in terms of a thought process, but you never know, man. Oh, what a flight path. This is the reason why Neptune loves this map as we rock on into game number 3. It's purgatory time, baby. And a skewed flight path. It's going to be keeping squads at least away from Marble Works Golf Course Mount Villa a little bit later in terms of rotation. But I do expect this to force some hot drops and early engagements out there. Buriram wanting none of it. Onyx up against Twisted Minds. Twisted Minds first ones to hit the ground. Therefore, they get the weapons before the Onyx Olympus players, but no eliminations coming on through just yet. Adam Mini Uzi. Exposy still has that Mac 10. Great glue wall. Riptide Rhythm breaks that down. Exposy using his active skill a little bit too early. 2v1. And Diamond backs him up with a firefall from the back. Demon's taken down. Exposy alive thanks to his buddy.
And not many teams are willing to drop that boathouse, knowing that Twisted Minds like to go there. And Onyx, they were a bit daring, only sending 2 members there, so they will give 2 points over the Twisted Minds. But thankfully, Crime again bailing them out with the revive. The Twisted Minds off to a decent start. Heavy DXKDC up against Heavy here. 4v4 right out from the gates. All the blue ones getting knocked down, and Heavy with the absolute spray down finds themselves 3.
Yeah, great play for Heavy so far. This is them at their best. And Heavy so far today, in terms of points picking, they're not too bad. Currently sitting in the 5th spot based on the overall leaderboard we spotted earlier on. One decent game should be able to launch them into the top 3. They keep that up. Getting the early qualifier alongside Gao is not going to be impossible. And WAG finding an easy one off of Aim God, who kind of lagged behind there compared to the rest of their team members who have scrambled and gotten away from a little bit of pressure early on.
Yep. And EVOS, at least they don't have to worry too much. The Dinoculus was used to scout out ahead, just in case. At fields, in fact, 2 Dinoculus, just to be safe. EVOS, we've seen them recover from worse situations. They're a team that are not really too pressured when they play from behind, even though in recent times it hasn't worked out the best for them. But we've seen them do crazier stuff.
Yeah.
So in this case, they should be able to get that revive on Aim God fairly comfortably. And again, plot their rotation, because they usually they never go to the southern island. So a big part of the map is most of the time off limits to EVOS, which in a sense is a good thing.
Oh, Avida XKDC on the rotation. First Pablo right down at the bottom. He actually gets shot by C1. Pablo might want to shoot back, and Heavy's going to get a free one off of this Avida player. Not sure exactly what happened there. Probably got distracted by the other players who were on the zipline as well. And Heavy will force Avida to scramble. They use the Dinoculus to scan out the area. They know they're not hiding, which means down towards that lower edge of this slope. Look for those Avida players who are very quickly making their way out of here.
And Heavy, despite having a hit list put on one of their players, at least put on an opposing player, seems like they are not too far away from Aurora. Was right across the river. Dinoculus being used ahead of time, and that's where AVD was, as they also decide to cross to the other side of the map. They did get a separate scan though, and that's going to be the compound that they hit to 3 Dinoculus use back to back to back. Heavy wants to make sure that they get control of this area.
Slower pace this time around. One more revival for a full stack lobby once again. As Heavy rotates looking for Avida, they might just bump into Flash here by the looks of things, and Flash heading straight towards them. A great advantage with the boulder that Heavy finds. Up to the very edge, and they spot Flash players approaching. Ray with the drop of the Bison. Rin taken out, and Shinzi as well caught out with the Drogon. Aim God with that backup. And EVOS forcing Shadow Esports to scramble. Juan will not get taken down with those shots as he exited the compound a little earlier. But they are going to go in for the chase, and Juan will be the sacrificial lamb as the Shadow Esports players just went in there for their own split blitz, trying to play survival.
Unfortunately, the Shadow Esports were not able to show any resistance. It doesn't feel like they were ready to take on that fight in any capacity, which is good news for EVOS. They got a couple more points, and now they might be able to close it out with a wipeout. With Juan getting taken down by Ray, that is going to be point number 3. Thankfully for Shadow Esports, they still have someone out in the wild, so the run continues. Falcons, though, barreling down the freeway, and Kororo with what a shot onto Zyru. Demons most likely will go down as well.
Valiant Dash breaking down the defenses, and easy one. Overkill, as it was a 2v1. The Valiant Dash was not needed, but they wanted to clean up this fight as quickly as possible. The Shadow Esports player right below them should be able to spot this one out, as Falcons now continue their hunt. 3 eliminations strong already. Crime spotted out by Sean. Onyx not having a great run here as they try to look for survival.
Heavy sitting at 5 points. They do have, I think, Argon and MY on the northern side of Brasilia. There's still some space for them to head towards if needed. I think Heavy have been pretty patient so far. They were not really rushing a lot of these encounters, unlike what they did, especially on day 1. But if they run uphill, they are going to eventually run into Argon and MY.
5 elimination strong here, looking like Heavy might be blessed with a few extra numbers. Argon on that high ground. Angles mean that Heavy does have an advantage here. But they're not going to be pushing out of their compound just yet. Twisted Minds on rotation. Book an appointment with WAG. This is about to turn ugly. Oh, Diamond spotted that out. M79 in hand though. Steffi popped instantly. WAG is going to be safe from those nades for the time being.
And Twisted Minds having a lot of long-range coverage here, whereas for WAG, they're going to start tossing some utilities, chip away the health bars of the Twisted Mind members. Even the explosive is committed. That forces the boss and Jump to evacuate from where they previously were. So far, Twisted Mind still not really budging, but the lightning zone is going to start hurting a little bit, and WAG will start aggressing.
Bass needs to back away here. Oh, Wangham has got the M79 as well. My goodness, too many of those grenade launches out there. Cryo Mine tossed out. Exposi in trouble here. Tikui could not break down those defenses, and Tikui finds him the M590 on that jump shot. Beautifully played. The Bass, though, cleaning up house from the back. Jump needs to go in for the pickup. Grenade being cooked up by Wangham here. Jump. Does he get tagged up? Yes, he does with that grenade right behind him. And WAG cooking Twisted Minds, who were on the approach with the aggression.
And just very well played from WAG. They systematically forced Twisted Minds out of their comfort zone, and then they pressed the envelope when Twisted Minds thought that they had a clear way out. And overall, it's just WAG being a lot more patient with the execution, now bringing Nan back and making sure that they have the full squad left alive. See, this seems to be like another slow game, as we are 8 minutes in and still 11 full teams left.
Yeah, brilliantly played by WAG to just deal with the squad in that moment, pulling out the lightning zone, pulling out the Steffi, making sure those grenades don't reach them. and then just turning the tables onto Twisted instantly. Beautifully done overall by the Vietnamese squad. This is just increasing my confidence in the Vietnamese team for a decent run at EWC. If they can keep this one up, for sure they're going to get there.
Yeah, I think again a very, very good chance for some of these teams to make history here. And I think, in the grand scheme of things, for Twisted Minds, at least they have had some of the greater moments in the league. So you can never really count them out. But it's just a consistency, right? Ever since the departure of Saming, it has been put into question. The recovery right now would be great, but then we'll have to wait until next round. Argon MY now under heavy fire from Heavy.
And Heavy's just going to camp this one out for the time being. 11 squads fully stacked at this point of time in the lobby as we head towards the 10-minute mark. I don't think it's going to be as crowded, or at least I hope so, because it's just too much of uncertainty out there. Twisted Minds very unfortunate with the early elimination. Quite down low on the leaderboard. And now booking up a aggressive fight up against Buriram is Argon. Pablo, oh sorry, it's not Buriram, it's Avida XKDC, apologies. And a good nade right back. Alif Noki down. Oh, Buriram getting involved in the fight as well, as Argon focuses on the Avida players. Shots from the back, and Argon now in a pickle. No vending machine around them to recover.
Yep. And see, I mean, for the side of Argon, you will have to somehow kind of slow things down a little bit to get out of this pickle. They do not want to fight in any capacity, and that does seem to be the case. Evo's Divine, on the other hand, have been laying dormant for majority of the round, sitting on the earlier 4 points that they have gotten and not really getting involved much afterwards. But that also means that they are stacked up in Arsenal for the second half of this round. The closest team next to them will be Onyx Olympus, who so far also has been pretty slow on the draw, but for good reasons.
4 eliminations. Solid for EVOS in terms of a starter here on this lobby, but they have to play this one careful. Probably going to be in close proximity with Onyx as they try to head into the next circle, and the more time they waste outside, it only means that it's going to be troublesome to get into this zone. There's limited hiding spots here. As I say that, Onyx on the move in. Up against Falcons, as well as Onyx. EVOS Divine stepping up from the back. Zom laid out the trip mine. Adam steps right on it. Blows his foot. And now split up in a 2-2 here. Onyx needs to catch up with each other. Zom, M590 up against Crime. Pulls out the same gun. Both of them barricading themselves away from each other.
Can Flash pull this off? Because EVOS is showing up. This is about to get very ugly. EVOS seems like they have no intention of holding the perimeter, and Flash will do their best to zone EVOS out before it gets worse. But they will start losing members as well. Kochu comes in for the collection and finds multiple bodies with that frag grenade, and EVOS is the eventual winner of that three-way fight. 11 points it is.
Oh, beautifully done by EVOS here. Didn't waste too much of time outside the zone. Blessed by a little bit of chaos in that situation as they went in for the approach. And EVOS gets the biggest numbers off of that encounter. And now Falcons looking for the same compound as well. This is going to be a problem. But EVOS do have a big advantage here. All they need to do is just barricade off those stairs. They have to be careful through those windows though, because those grenade launches are a little bit too common out there on the battlefield at this point of time. Never know who's holding on to it.
They do have Aurora behind them, but nothing that they need to be too worried about, at least for now, as Aurora will have to fight with the circle in just a little bit. As meanwhile, EVOS basically fortifying their presence here. If Falcons wants a piece of this, they will have to take EVOS on their own terms.
Falcons up against EVOS. Aim God dealing with Pina. Valiant dashes through to the other side, but Racha gets caught in the crosshairs of EVOS, and they annihilate Falcons as they try to get aggressive. 15 elimination points now for EVOS. This is a great game for them.
Incredible game, in fact. But let's say they will have to take EVOS up on EVOS terms if they want to fight, and that's going to boost EVOS up to 15 points, and we still have 6 other squads that is not EVOS in this lobby. Plenty of points to collect to give EVOS the best possible chance to move on.
Heavy on that recovery. Lightning Zone called out. Argon out in 7th. So many teams just falling one after the other. Buriram has to be careful now, as Aurora will be looking to reposition and look for that safe zone in a few seconds. Circle's definitely squeezing them in. In fact, Aurora has to be careful as well, because Buriram is keeping an eye on them.
Yeah. WAG actually making work of EVOS too. This is another team that we said has been doing things smart. And EVOS's rampage put to a stop just like that.
Oh, damn. I mean, I didn't expect that one. But perhaps EVOS thought, okay, maybe we're giving away too much here. We shouldn't get this aggressive. Boys have been trying to dial the tone down throughout the whole competition. Pryoman's going to tag up Moshi. Axel with a sharp shot. The AWM, great barricade of glue walls being erected. Moshi right back up on his feet. Ice Grenade is going to be tossed out. Riptide Rhythm breaking down the defenses. Jun's going to get caught out in a little bit of a pickle here. Wasana, Max 7, does not get the shots through the window. Jun backs away. Still alive, but outside the circle. This is trouble time. Jun recovers in the nick of time here. Probably to meet Get High, who backs away. Jun's still alive. This is a big play off of the Aurora player.
Yep. And this should get BRU the control as well. Jun should stay quiet for now. Heavy on the horizon. ABD also watching this happen. Riptide Rhythm being thrown now, and all of Heavy defenses have to be rebuilt. BRU, they know that some of Aurora is still there, so they will deal with Jun first. Jun actually able to knock down Wasana, but that's the max extent of damage that he's able to provide. And now all is going to be left to Heavy. WAG right in the center of the safe zone. They have full control of the situation.
Yeah, unfortunate for Aurora. Buriram with the initial shots, and in fact everybody else had the high ground advantage up against Aurora. So easy shots on them. Great landing glue wall by Moshi, protecting the whole squad here. Wang Am will be able to find the connection of the Winchester, but the pickup is easy. Barricading themselves up with those glue walls, but the circle's going to be pressuring Buriram now. This is going to be trouble time. Buriram can't get away from the circle and these shots at the same time. Jonah with the M79 desperation play, but he's going to be chipped away by the blue zone. Wasana, the final player left here on the side of Buriram, finds one for himself. Mag 7 in hand, inhaler used, but the circle is just too powerful at that point.
And now it is WAG's time. It feels like there's nothing that will stop them. They have full control of the situation at this point. It's just a very good spot to be in if you are WAG. You can leave Heavy to their demise in the hands of AVD.
Yeah.
I think WAG, even when the circle moves, they can easily bulldoze through everyone unless a misplay comes through. But again, WAG, they do have the most members left.
WAG is looking for the number 1 spot off of this T-Queen. Beautiful shot onto Mufasa. Now in a 4v3. It's all about this final battle here. T-Kui flanking around towards the right hand side. Wang Am staying towards the left. Winchester in hand. Tawan exposes himself. Doesn't get taken down just yet. Valiant Dash comes on through, and that's a bad play off of Tawan. Riptide Rhythm breaking down the defense as Wang Am gets caught out by Long Kong, but WAG players are right down there behind them. Anusit, the final player, VSK in hand, but up against 4 players off of WAG. Into the monster truck he goes, but a easy AWM exit, as WAG secures a solid booyah here for themselves to book a spot in the top 3, looking for the number 1 spot. But of course the question is, how many eliminations did they manage to get?
And I think overall for WAG, it's just, again, solid performance through and throughout.
Yep.
WAG, with how they took out EVOS when we least expected it, and to how they found the best possible circle towards the very end, it was just perfection. I think WAG, if they've done anything here, is to give themselves another chance to redeem what happened yesterday.
Now the replay gives me my answer. 16 elimination strong game for WAG. It does not give them the top 3. It will now serve them that number 1 spot on the overall leaderboard for sure. A consistent run for the Vietnamese squad. They have to be proud of themselves. I mean, I think this has been one of their best seasons in terms of play so far.
Yeah, 100%. Again, WAG in their prime season last year, they were unstoppable. In fact, they were the one that had the highest rate of taking down teams like BRU and Falcons. But it was true sheer aggression, not like what we saw, which is a lot more calculated and collected. But it's a new side of WAG in the meta that requires you to be a bit more cautious with how you approach these fights. Thanks to snipers being a thing again.
Yeah, and WAG has been very composed in terms of all of their movements, right? I think the timing of the Riptide rhythms have been beautiful whenever used out there, but this time around, it was just not used in the right manner. The final battle up against WAG, I guess you have to panic when your numbers are really low. Avida XKDC did not expect WAG to get that aggressive in that moment. They wanted to use that Riptide rhythm in a defensive manner, but instead it broke down their own defenses and allowed WAG to overwhelm them. And the timing of WAG on that approach as well, the way they took that, sending Tikui on that right flank, and of course the Winchester still held at the left-hand side of the flank, just allowed them full-on cover in that final battle. And of course, you got to look at the game of numbers as well. It was a 4v3 battle, and even though Avida XKDC kind of was on that lower end there in terms of chances of getting that booyah, they still tried their best. Unfortunately, the positioning on that final battle was just not the best for them.
Just not really going in the way. I think they not only have lesser members, WAG had full control of the circle almost the entire way. And again, with Heavy being around and AVD not really sure how they want to move this, it was only a matter of time before WAG starts to rush and everything played out as planned. WAG just had what it took to win that round.
Yeah, and Avida could have just maintained heavy pressure and heavy play for the #1 spot, but I think they were just way too passive in this game, right? You didn't see big numbers from their side. They were just trying to sneak in towards that final circle, trying to avoid the other squads, not getting aggressive. And this is a problem because I think Avida is one of those teams capable of being aggressive and pulling in big points off of this lobby, but they're trying to guarantee the booyah there for themselves instead. Didn't play out well for them. They have now allowed WAG to overtake them on the leaderboard for sure, because I think they clocked in less than 5 eliminations in this game. EVOS, on the other hand, I think they should be able to jump up the leaderboard quite a little bit here, Husky, because of the 15 eliminations that they managed to earn, but a very early exit from the lobby.
Yeah, very unfortunate. Very unfortunate for EVOS, but like you said, 15 points, even without a booyah, is good enough to put them back in contention after what was a slow start to today. Now EVOS, I think they're back in the running, right? Same for WAG, who had a fantastic game number 3.
Yeah, and of course, Buriram had a decent enough game for themselves. How high that launches them in the leaderboard is still going to be a question. I think they're still playing a very mid-card sort of a team performance so far. We got to check out the game highlights once again to see exactly how some of these squads got annihilated. And T. Kui, the MVP of the match with 7 eliminations to his side, the weapon of choice this time for the annihilations with a Bison, surprisingly.
And overall, just WAG, even in these earlier runs as well, I think the way that they took on Onyx, the way that they took on sort of like the late game, especially EVOS and Twisted Minds, it was all very calculated. They were playing the game of attrition. It's not about winning it head on, it's about winning it when the enemy is gassed out. And I think WAG, they played to that style very, very well this game. And a big part of it was because they had the Steffi to protect themselves, and they have the Narrow to wear people out.
Yeah, the battle up against Twisted Minds was won because of Nan7's smart play. We saw the M79 being whipped out. This guy knew he was going to get bombed out of that small little trailer, popped the Steffi, and the Painted Refuge helped keep the squad safe. They pulled out a lightning zone instantaneously as well, and after that, it was a battle of that Riptide rhythm as well as the Valiant Dash off of that Oscar that was giving them a lot of that advantages out there on the battlefield. And let's not speak of Nero, because Wang Am played that in that perfect timing, stopping those glue walls and then sending a flurry of split blitz grenades towards the squad as well, getting a massive assist off of those nades. Perfectly played by the Grenadier of the squad, but everybody else picking up decent numbers for themselves. PLS1 and T Kui, just between them alone, you've got 12 eliminations.
Yeah, and I think T Kui, with this, we mentioned a couple of times in previous seasons that he is one of the best rushers that has come out from the region, in recent times. And again, he has proven himself right. He has been able to go up against some of the best out there. 28 points for Secret WAG, 20 for EVOS Divine, thanks to the amount of eliminations that they got. Now things are gonna get even more heated, because I feel like at this point of time, WAG and EVOS Divine, they're right back in it. And if you are BRU, if you're Heavy, if you're Avida, you get a strong game 1, sure. but it's just not consistent enough.
Yeah, it's definitely not. We would love to see the overall standings. I don't know if or not we're going to get a peek at it, but Secret WAG, based on my mind calculation, should be able to score that number 1 spot. They were sitting in the 4th place on the overall leaderboard earlier on when we did take a peek at it. EVOS Divine, on the other hand, should be able to climb into the top 5 as well based off of this great performance. Unfortunate that they couldn't really pull off a lot of those placement points, and thank you very much, production. This is the overall standings. EVOS now in the 4th spot, and WAG dominating the number 1 spot. Avida missing out on the number 1 spot because of the low number of eliminations. They only clocked in 3. I thought they would have at least been able to get 5 off that game, but 3 is a tad bit low, and that gives WAG a little bit of an advantage up at the top. But we're only halfway through the day. We've got 3 more games to go.
3 more games to go, which means that the cutoff point is still not, I think, determined yet. Right? For now, at least when you look at the leaderboard, yes, Heavy is where it all ends, but even Aurora will still have some chance. Aurora, Shadow Esports, Team Flash, but if the next round, if they still cannot get together by round 4, and the top 7 teams still keep on raking in big points, then it's fair to say that we can narrow down the pool to just those 7 teams.
Absolutely, man. We are gearing up for an interview with Avida XKDC from the side of Thailand in a little bit. I'm quite excited for that. But of course, if you look at the grand scheme of things of Vietnam finding another team qualifying early into the grand finals, I think it's very exciting. Vietnam can no longer go by the storyline as being one of the weaker regions. They have definitely been one of the stronger regions in the recent times and looking very promising at this point of time. We're going to be throwing you guys on to the interview and taking a quick short break. When we come back, the rest of the 3 games from the day. You guys take care. Don't go anywhere, yeah?
Hey, what's up, y'all? Now we are with the very outstanding team, a dark horse of Thai team, Avida X KDC และตอนนี้เราก็อยู่กับทีมที่มาแรงมากๆนะคะในตอนนี้ซึ่งก็คือทีม
Avida XKDC ครับ
Can you briefly introduce yourself ช่วยแนะนำตัวสั้นๆหน่อยค่ะ
ครับผม Avida ลองกองครับ
Avida ลองกองของเรานะคะ So you did an incredible job in the first 3 games. How did you guys prepare for this? 3 เกมแรกทำได้ดีมากๆตอนนี้อยู่ที่ 2 เตรียมตัวมันยังไงบ้างคะ
ก็ซ้อมครับซ้อมอย่างเดียวเลยไม่ได้นอนด้วย
ไม่ได้นอนด้วย He said they practice a lot. They didn't even get a sleep. And do you feel nervous at all since today is the first day of playing? วันนี้เนี่ยเล่นเป็นครั้งแรกของสัปดาห์รู้สึกตื่นเต้นไหมคะ
ก็ตื่นเต้นดีครับสนุกดีครับ
He said he was excited for the first game and he find that it's kinda fun for him. And do you expect your team to enter the next round by today? คิดว่าในวันนี้ทีมมีโอกาสเข้ารอบต่อไปไหมคะ
โอกาสแน่นอนครับแต่ว่าต้องไปติดตามแชร์ในเกมครับผม
He said for sure we will have a chance to enter the next round, but please keep watching for us in the 4th game and so on. And if you guys advance to the grand final for real, will you have anything special for your fans? ถ้าเกิดว่าได้ตั๋วไปรอบแกรนด์ไฟนอลจริงๆน่ะจะมีอะไรพิเศษให้แฟนๆไหมคะ
ก็เดี๋ยวหน้าขาวแล้วก็เต้นลงเพจหลักเลยครับ
หน้าขาวด้วย He said they will like put on the powder on their face to make it really white and they will dance like 5 of you guys 5 คนเลยใช่ไหมคะ
ใช่ครับทั้งทีมครับ
The whole team will dance for the fans for sure. And last question, please tell something to the fans. Hashtag ท้ายมวยรองหรือท้ายเด็กรังช่วยบอกอะไรกับแฟนคลับ Hashtag ท้ายมวยรองหน่อยค่ะ
ก็ฝากเชียร์ด้วยนะครับแล้วก็แฮชแท็กท้ายมวยรองด้วยนะครับทำให้เต็มที่ครับผม
Please keep cheering for us and don't forget to put the hashtag Thai Muay Rong when you're cheering us. So see you in the 4th game. And that is the interview. For now, let's have some break and see you in the next game. กลับไปพักกันสักครู่แล้วเจอกันเกมหน้านะคะ บ๊ายบาย
Actually, I'm already there.
Talk to you later.
Such a welcoming committee.
Get him now!
Not now, Shiro.
Watch out, Ray. It could be a trap.
Yeah, thought about that too. I'm okay, man. Hold your horse. It's so good to see you, Hati.
I'm sorry, Ray. But you should know, things are not like in the past. I don't want to hurt you, brother.
Come on. A simple hug would do it.
Things are different now. Give me your device and get away!
This time I'll decide for myself what to do, sis.
Oh, I know what's different about you. Let me guess. Horizon?
Shut up! No, nothing!
Do what you want. I don't recognize you as my sister anymore.
Hati, isn't it cool that even though the sun and the moon are rivals, they can still find time to be together?
They aren't rivals, silly. They're just different.
Just like us, right?
Yes, like us, brother.
Hati! Hati!
I'll be fine. Take him down.
I knew she couldn't do it.
おい！それスノボじゃなくて人体だから。それにこれってケツでブレーキかけるやつだし、吉原大炎上の次は異世界大炎上なんてシャレになりませんから。
だがこれぐらい犠牲を払ってこそコラボに対しての俺たちの気合が伝わるってもんだろ。 銀ちゃんの言う通りある。コラボのためなら尻の一つや二つ差し出して当然ね。
ゲームは終わりだ。皆さん、それって銃？
嫌いやろ。
話してやってくんねえか、サダール。そいつは新橋じゃねえんだ。僕なら噛まれてもいいってことですか？ケリーさん、本当にごめんなさい。さて、行き先は？ってもしかして僕またメガネだけになってない？
As we approach the final leg of the first stage of Phase 2, we are back here at the Free Fire World Series Spring Season 2026 for 3 more rounds before we figure out which teams will join the already in Vietnam, booked for Vietnam 4. My name is Sasuke and I'm joined by the Musashi AJ once more to give you guys all the action for the remaining 3 rounds.
My camera is always on, except when I'm on camera. My apologies, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Sometimes technical glitches do get us, but technical glitches are not getting WAG, at least for the time being, right? Very consistent plays they've managed to pull for themselves, and of course, a booyah to jump up to the top. And this is what we want to see out of these regions, but it seems like Malaysia is not going all gas this time around. They are taking a couple of breaks here and there. Aurora, just when you expect them to rise up to the top, they are lingering down at the bottom, currently in the 8th place with a total of 19 points, only 9 placement points and 10 eliminations off of 3 games, Husky.
3 games, and right now 3 more games to right the wrongs for some of these squads, but we did talk about cutoff points, and by the end of map 4, if the teams who are down low aren't still able to kind of make up for lost time, then it's fair to assume that they are going to be forced to play in the second half of Phase 2, which will be last weekend.
Yep.
But for teams like WAG, looking pretty good. EVOS Divine also making quite a comeback. And now all eyes will be on them to see if they can continue that dominance.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And of course, WAG looking like they want to secure a early access into the grand finals here for themselves. I think some of these teams who are quite confident with their plays as well as their setup for active passive skills, they've experimented enough. They just want to get the early qualifier and take a rest for this week number 4. Because technically speaking, if you don't make that early qualifier, you have to play an extra 18 games. Next week, we will only have 12 teams remaining who will have to go through all 3 days of play. And I think some of the big squads don't want that. I'm a little surprised because I thought Buriram would not want that.
Yeah, I thought that. I think that. I like to think that they do want it, but everyone else wants it as much as them. Everyone else is just as hungry, and this is why for I think the past year or two, BRU, even though they are still the world champion with the most trophies, still one of the best teams in the world, are facing a lot more resistance in local and regional league because everyone else wants a piece of what they have tasted so many times. It's a good thing. We are improving overall. When we head to Nextera, let's see if this is going to flip the script around. We mentioned teams like Falcons. They are going to need to rely on a good route on Nextera to really solidify their position. But it is also the playground of some of the teams who are behind as well.
Yeah, absolutely, man. Now, when you look at this now, next map is going to be Nextera, and usually on Nextera, Buriram has managed to show quite a bit of dominance, right? 2 booyahs in here so far, the most compared to any other squads. Everybody else have managed to only pick up 1 booyah if they have any on their side. And I think this is the moment for Buriram to wake up again in the competition, right? Because they have been kind of hot and cold so far. Their rotations have been really soft. They have not been the usual aggressive Buriram that we are spotting out there, which is a slight disappointment to me. I want to see more aggression. I really thought Buriram would find the early access today.
Yeah, there's the lesser aggression, right? Like when we see them really step on the gas, they still go fast and hard, but it's not the constant, the constant NASCAR type speed that just barrels down the whole way, no brakes, all gas. This time, they find their moment, and unfortunately, teams are starting to catch up to that as well. And even in their best moments, the resistance shown by some of our squads out there are enough to really dampen the flames, really smother the flames of BRU. And Nextera could be another chance for the reigning 3-time world champion to come back.
Second half of the final day in week 3. Let's go. It's Nextera time, baby. And the flight path looks pretty decent from up top here. The map's going to be fairly open to everyone, regardless of where they want to take a drop. So those hot drops will definitely surprise me. Evo's Divine, the first ones out of the plane, straight in towards Grav Labs. I think they're going to take a split drop here. Plaza Ria will have Team Flash, which means it's going to be pretty hot for the Evo's Divine players to find their rotation around. WAG holding on to Farmtopia. And I think the coast should be clear for teams like Buriram, dropping far off towards the left here as well. Avidex KDC. I think Shadow Esports might be looking for a little bit of trouble here at the museum.
Shadow Esports just touched down first, and in a pretty good spot to get some equipment and finding good cover too, so they should be safe from any movement from the side of AVD. I think I did mention Aurora MY nearby as well. So it could be a possibility of some third-party intervention. But I think Aurora MY, they are going to keep that distance here, especially for Ezreal and Zuez, who might have gotten a whiff of members of AVD.
3-way fight at the mud site. Avidex KDC is like, nope, we are out of here. They picked up some guns for themselves and very quickly backing away from the compound. Aurora, on the other hand, in a little bit of a situation here. I think they might want to take this fight. Argon up against Heavy. Mufasa finds the first blood. Allen traded right back out by the VSS. Great advantage taken. Falcons, at least Pina, hearing these gunshots on that slow approach as well. As Heavy takes over Twin Bridge.
Completely blindsided earlier on. At least for both teams, they had the same encounter. It should be a complete disengage here. Twin Bridge still giving over the side of Heavy. Can't say the same for Allen though. Poor dude. Raja catches him on the wayside. So Heavy off to quite a slow start. But can say the same for Team Flash, who wants to step on the pedal as they caught PLS1 out in the open. Blue walls laid down just as a temporary defensive measure, but it's enough to give the rest of WAG a chance to fire back.
And Flash looks like they are pretty comfortable pulling out the lightning zone out in the open here. Gives them a great big advantage up against WAG, forcing the squad to scramble. PLS1 really low in the vehicle. Thankfully, not a lot of snipers on the side of Flash just yet. And Twisted Minds dropping by. They're on the roof, which means Flash is going to be in a little bit of trouble here, right outside the lightning zone pulled out by Flash earlier on, which means Twisted Minds, it's not going to be tickled here as they look for the aggressive play up against the squad. Shadow Esports, on the other hand, finally engaging with Aurora, barricading himself in his Shinzi with the M10-14 in hand. Rin with a Mag 7 going in for the chase. Azrael finding Chilzy first. And Rin's just not making any breakthrough here. Finally breaking down the defenses. The glue wall goes down. The player picks right back up. And it looks like Aurora might be in a little bit of a pickle here as Shadow Esports turns the script. Wasana sprayed down up against Argon. This is not what Buriram expected early game.
And BRU, let's see if they can get that revive. They should be able to do so. Jonah has plenty of coins in case he needs it. But if Argon MY takes him down, then it will be a different story. Noki trying to get through to him, but no, Jonah has done his job, brings his team back, and now let's see how much damage he can do. Unfortunately, not enough to get more points for his team, but it's good enough that BRU are still in it.
WAG is in the compound here, and Moshi is a quick drive-by. Pulls out the boost at the right time here. Rushing to bring Captain Jonah back into play, and that moment, Jonah on that revival. Aurora pulls in a full squad revival as well, so the squad should be decent for recovery in a little bit. Twisted Minds on the hunt. Flash. Nani? Okay, many shots to find him. The best finally backs him up. Diamond has to be wondering exactly what's happening here. Get high straight down. Easy elimination for WAG.
Easy point. BRU on one of the slowest start we've seen them today, unfortunately. An early encounter with Argon MY made it a bit complicated, especially when Jonah wanted to go for the mass revive, but Argon MY were delaying the eliminations. On the part of Onyx Olympus and Falcons, the two teams that coincidentally needs to get a good round here, especially for Falcons, who still have quite a flip-floppy record on Xterra. Pina will be making the first move, but Demons will have the protection of Crime on one end, and Adam and Zyru on the other.
Falcons need to play this one slow here. Onyx kind of camping up on each other. Zyru has got the electrotherapy connected onto Demons, who's most probably on the Valiant dash again. Falcons backing away. They are aiming for the right player here. If they catch Zyru, this could be for Demons. It's a 2v2. Pina, Kororo stacking up on each other. Bison pulled out. Here comes the grenade off of Kororo as well. And a grenade off of both sides. Do not find those connections. And Pina with the Valiant dash, flying up high. Will get tagged up by Adam instead. Zyru traded out. And the time turner helps Pina back up on his feet. Riptide Rhythm from afar. But Falcons very quickly back away. And the time turner still keeping them safe. A wasted Riptide Rhythm.
Yep. And Falcons with 5 points already. That is the exact start that we want to see from them. Good news for Onyx Olympus. They're still in it. Argon MY bleeding out. Twisted Minds also not in the healthiest spot. This could end poorly. Exposing making sure that he gets that pick up first. Since they are underneath this structure, Argon MY won't be able to tally as much. Aurora Malaysia, on the other hand, also gets mass revive. Same for Onyx Olympus. We are back to almost a full reset of this lobby, except for Argon MY. Fire is stuck on top of the billboard with a vending machine, I believe, right underneath, but it's too dangerous to go for that.
Smart play on the monster truck as well. So he's going to be able to reposition, but does he survive to get the revival off of that vending machine here? Twisted Minds is trying to put a little bit of a distance between themselves and the players so they can find a decent angle to work that shot off. Flash, on the other hand, on that revival, looking for recovery. God's going to be stuck in a tough little spot here. Has the Mars. Pulls it out. Easy reposition. But Long Kong now in trouble. The God spots him. Just could not get out of the stealth bites quick enough to take the shot.
And that is good news, at least for WAG, as they did pick up Zyru again. Onyx forced to go on another slow run, which seems to be reminiscent of what has just happened not long ago. But for WAG, this is their chance to extend that lead and really put themselves in that strong position. Crime getting picked off by Twisted Minds off screen, and things going from bad to worse for Onyx Olympus. 3 more members drop just like before, and they will have to somehow find another mass revive.
4 eliminations for WAG in the early game, but everybody kind of finding their pacing here on the recovery. Early game revivals are not that too difficult to pull off as long as you've got a decent enough spot on the drop near those vending machines. Now put it up against EVOS. Great position for Wasana. Has to be careful though. AimGod turns around, looking for the revenge. Winchester level 3 does not find those perfect connections just yet. Jonah backing him up. Oh, here comes the nade. Big one. AimGod tagged up. Split's not finding him. AimGod rushing straight in and will get punished for that. Riptide Rhythm breaking down the defenses of Ray, and a 2-for-1 piecing here for Buriram. Easy picking on the EVOS players who were split apart.
BRU now kind of pretty out there in the open. There is Aurora Malaysia right on the northeastern side. They will have to go for a bit of a rotation, but I think Jun has spotted them out, and Ezreal will be in a position to respond. Aurora seemingly want to box BRU in, but when you tempt fate like that, BRU will take on the challenge. And Axel gets a good opener on the get high. They even barricade out the front entrance, and it's Aurora taking matter into their own hands. Moshi was able to respond onto Zuez, but I believe Aurora should be able to bring him back up. Now with the numbers advantage, Moshi finds the cleanup somehow to even the odds.
What a play there by Axel. Taking one of the more dangerous players out of the equation. Get high is out. And Axel now in a 1v1 up against Jonah.
Oh.
And actually he was going in for Moshi. Jonah with the backstab. Ezreal could not be saved, as Moshi gets the advantage for the squad up close and personal with the AWM and saves his captain as well. Big play off of Moshi there. Aurora just bumping into the wrong version of Buriram this time round.
Pretty unfortunate, because I think Aurora did not know that there were two people right in front of them. They thought only Moshi was the target, and Jonah basically blindsided them from the side. Very good crossfire setup by BRU. Aurora had a very good chance, but at least that will be kept alive by the remaining survivors, who did get the revive out. Exposy nailing another one. 13 eliminations already, and we still have a full lobby, AJ.
Yeah, this is amazing. I mean, it's all about the recovery play. What a shot! Diamond deadly. The grenade tossed out first, managed to connect with the shot, and then the grenade went in with a follow-up damage. Brilliant timing played. You gotta love perfection of Free Fire in moments like these, and Twisted Minds dominating the elimination feed right now. 14 eliminations already. 1,003 in the hands of Bass is like waiting for some sort of vending machine to use this. Like, can you guys just get taken down? Let me revive you at least.
Asha actually gets a free pickup on the Prime too. Onyx hasn't been having the round so far and doesn't seem to get any better. Rasha clips him on the run. Onyx down to just demons once more, but BRU right in front of him. I think this should be it for Onyx. What seemed to be a promising chance for them might just slip away here, as BRU will look for their 8th point. Twisted Minds is nearby though. This could be another round, but Twisted Minds end up farming the lobby instead. Reptile Rhythm deploy, and Wasana cashes in on the 8th.
Decent play off of Wasana. It took him a couple of seasons to really master the M590, but now that he is absolutely monstrous on it, it's just making it a little bit more scary to deal with Buriram up close and personal. Moshi though, spanned from the back, and Jump will take that point for the Twisted Minds squad. And now Twisted Minds going in for the push. Buriram needs to get out of there. They don't have a jump pad by the looks of it. Wasana sprayed down. EVOS attacking them from the back, and Twisted Minds should be able to finish this off. Bye-bye Buriram. Another early exit for the big squad.
Twisted Minds fighting 2 fights at the same time. Wasana hanging on for longer than expected, but finally cleaned up. That's 19 points, AJ. They have wiped out an equivalent of more than a quarter of the lobby, and we still have 10 teams left.
And wait, Twisted Minds, the last time we looked at the overall leaderboard, they were dead last, bro. They were in the 12th spot. And
not anymore.
Not anymore, no. With the eliminations alone, they're going to be able to launch themselves somewhere around like, 6th, 7th placing. 20th elimination now picked up by Twisted Minds. Holy mama, is this that record-breaking game? Because, like I said at the start of the day, it was Buriram with the biggest elimination score so far, which is 25 eliminations in one game. Twisted Minds are 5 shy of that, and we're so early in this match. We've got 10 squads, including them, still alive in this lobby. If they get the booyah off of this game, they're going to set a brand new record from the very bottom of the leaderboard of the day.
20 and counting. That is, I think the most points a team has ever gotten is 30 or 33 in eliminations. And they are very close in doing that. I think that record was held by Falcons.
Oh, yeah.
But that is total points, right? Total points is 40 to 42, which means that if they hit 28 eliminations at the Booyah, they are going to tie their target. But I feel like Twisted Minds, if they continue this momentum, they can easily break a world record in not even the grand finals, and at the regional league of all things.
Insane stuff out of Twisted Minds at this point of time. And Falcons, I think they set that record on the Esports World Cup stage, which is just ridiculous. It's where they absolutely dominated. I think it was the opening game of all things where we saw that, or the second game, but it was very early on in that battle. It's just untouchable at that point of time. Let's see if Twisted Minds can pull a few more. Man, we are close towards the 14th minute and 10 squads still alive. You're running out of real estate here, and the next circle is going to be in the wide open spaces. Twisted Minds, one of the first ones to get to the very edge of this next zone. They have to be careful. Razia aiming from the back. Jump gets dropped. Easy pickup for Twisted Minds at this point of time. And now EWAS picking a fight with Twisted Minds.
Yeah, and Twisted Minds are responding very well. They get a bit of assistance unintendedly from AVD, and this should be enough to bail them out. EVOS did land a nade onto them. Meanwhile, AVD, as much as they're helping out Twisted Minds, they also have their own fight to deal with, which is against Falcons, and somehow a random member from Team Flash, and now Heavy showing up to the compound. This is pandemonium in the building. The explosions are everywhere. They box themselves in AVD somehow, still keeping themselves alive. Heavy wants to break through, but good lord, there's still Team Flash on the ground floor.
Yeah, I mean, this is just way too crowded, and I expected Heavy to go straight after Falcons, but Flash is taking that responsibility. Heavy, on the other hand, booking a little bit of an appointment here up against Avita X KDC. Long Kong has the M79 in hands, on standby, waiting for Heavy to break on through the defenses, but nobody's knocking on their doors just yet. In fact, Heavy actually backs away, looking on the opposite side. Twisted Minds picks up more points and annihilates Argon, taking them out in 10.
I think Twisted Minds still have the full squad left alive, which is the scariest thing, and they're not done yet. They go for EVOS. I think there's another 4 points in the pocket. This is insanity from Twisted Minds, and the icing on the cake, they have full control of the circle. They want more. They are approaching this area. This is the motherlode of all points.
This is going to be the record-breaking game. Can they get a booyah off of this as well? Twisted Minds definitely have got our attention right now. And I'll repeat, Twisted Minds was in the 12th spot on the overall leaderboard when we took a peek at it earlier on with 13 points. With this one game, they have managed to outdo their performance on the past 3 games put together. How crazy is that? And now they're outside the zone, waiting for someone to show up. Jump in a little bit of a spot here, a little bit too far ahead, and he understands that, backing away, jumping back in together, forming a decent spot alongside the rest of his brothers. Diamond out in the open all on his own. Heavy now focusing on Twisted Minds, who do have a positional advantage.
And WAG, they are long gone. They are moving into the center of the circle. And again, just like what they did in the previous round, WAG wants possession first of the safe zone. Plays safe, plays tactical. And now they have a chance to actually backstab Twisted Minds if Twisted Minds overstep. So this is not a guarantee for Twitch just yet. You might have to storm the compound, and it will not be an easy task. And they don't have much time to make a decision. Twisted Minds needs to figure out what the next move is right now.
Can Twisted Minds create a brand new world record here off of this lobby? Of course, that's just considering the Southeast Asian teams. Heavy losing their defenses. 2 teams whacking them with the Riptide Rhythms. And Twisted Minds up against Falcons now. Peanut breaking straight on through, getting a knock. Exposi picked right back up. Great play as WAG helps out Twisted Minds, unintentionally shutting down the gameplay of Falcons.
And they survived just on the edge. T-Quake manages to get another. Riptide Rhythm should do it in as Twisted Minds loses more members. WAG once more have found themselves in control of the situation. Dem and Heavy have a very good chance of taking out Twisted Minds, but honestly, if I'm a Twisted Mind player or a fan of that team, it does not matter. They have done more than enough. They have went above and beyond to set the bar high. They are definitely in contention for the ticket to Vietnam at this point. Now it's more like how much more can they do to stretch that lead.
Oh, brilliant here. An opportunity for Twisted Minds to continue surviving as WAG now focuses on Heavy. Heavy pulled their attention with that early rotation, and now WAG meeting them halfway. Tossing out the Cryo Mine, tagging up Don't Cry and Mufasa. The electrotherapy in play. There's Steffi popped as well. Smart play by Nan7, and they are going to be protected by those nades. From those nades for a little bit. Allen down on the ground, and again broken down by T-Quake, who valiant dashed into both those players, getting a double for himself. And annihilating Team Heavy is WAG.
Diamond was able to take one member out from Heavy as well, and now they come in. This might be possible, AJ. This 2v3. Fast on the ground, Diamond. I don't think he can pick him back up. The sandwich comes in from WAG. Diamond getting very close to that miracle. a 1v2, and WAG wants to make it a bit more unfair. Goes for the pickup and some bandages, and Diamond facing impossible odds. Finds another isolated pickup through the window. Diamond is doing it right. PLS wants to go for the interception, but Diamond playing it so safe, and Hwang Ang finally puts a stop to the carnage. Another booyah gifted to WAG.
WAG with the phenomenal back-to-back booyah to really show that they're not just here to play, they're here to play for the early qualifiers into the grand finals. Consistent plays off of the Vietnamese squad, shushing everybody instantly, but wowee, Twisted Minds woke up on this map for sure.
WAG might have gotten the booyah, but I think the true star of this round is Twisted Minds. For now though, WAG still remaining as one of the contenders to, I want to say go to Vietnam, but they are from Vietnam, so to go to the grand finals venue earlier than everyone else. 2 booyahs. If there's a tiebreaker, they are definitely gonna win out in that one, and the only thing left to do is to remain consistent in top 2.
Yeah, production definitely messed with us because the last time we got to see any one of the players on the side of Twisted Minds, we saw 20 eliminations there. And then after that, it was all just the free cam motion on the Twisted Minds players. We never saw those numbers. I really wonder how many eliminations did they get? Did they break the record? You said 32 was that number. I think 32 was definitely the number that we have seen, the biggest one so far in terms of eliminations. Twisted Minds definitely close to it because we saw them annihilate a couple of players from Argon, from EVOS as well. It was a tremendous play for them, and they were in the 12th spot. I want to see what they managed to do with just this one game, where they managed to leapfrog into, because this was a massive game off of them. But of course, WAG is still stealing the spotlight with the back-to-back booyah, and that number 1 spot, I guess, still remains with them.
Yeah, they also, I think the most points in a single round is like 42-3.
Yeah.
They have 9 placement points already from finishing second. If they can even make it to 40, that itself would be really mad impressive.
Yeah, man, it's insane. So from not even being in the conversation of being one of the aggressive teams out there who are picking up a lot, with just one game, I think they have definitely put themselves in the contention for the top 3 most aggressive teams of the day through eliminations. How crazy is that? And to think that is the capability of Twisted Minds, a squad that perhaps might not be the most vicious one out there that we are looking for to dominate these lobbies. They have not been the most consistent, but they're definitely very capable of pulling off stunts like these. Whether or not they have the consistency in dominating in such a way, we'll obviously have to see, because the past 3 games really wasn't anywhere close to this one.
Yeah, no, not at all. And the fact that Twisted Minds, I wouldn't say they worked in silence. They worked in silence because we didn't get to see them on screen at the first few minutes, but they were very, very public in how they were playing that game. They were not holding back at all. They were running at every single opportunity. You can just see from the gameplay that the hype was there, right? There's the adrenaline. Yes. They are feeling really good about themselves, and that's why somehow, even in a 1v3, we almost believed that Diamond could pull off the impossible. I think Twisted Minds, if the only thing that could ruin the fantasy right now is if they still don't make it. That would be the saddest thing.
I think making it is tough unless they pull off yet another big bomber match like this. Again, I have to repeat, the record set in Sea Spring here in 2026 so far is a total of 37 points. We saw Buriram hit this. They got the booyah for themselves along 25 eliminations. There's a high chance Twisted Minds have exceeded 25 eliminations. They didn't get the booyah, but they still got 9 placement points, like you mentioned, Husky, which is still a lot. Do they now set the brand new record for this competition? I think there's a very high chance they've managed to do so.
I think I'm 99% certain they have set the record. This record is going to stand the test of time. I think it's going to be incredibly hard to replicate or even overtake what they have achieved. But through the highlights, we can definitely see, even when the camera is not on Twisted Minds, the kill feed is full of Twisted Minds.
I'm going to take a guess that they were close to a 30 bomber in terms of eliminations, maybe somewhere around 27, 28 elims, which is insane, right? And if that is the case, I think it would put them close in contention for that record breaker up against Buriram, but not enough. They actually need to get way more than that. At the very minimum, they need 28 eliminations to match up to Buriram's record. Let's look at...
Okay.
Well, we get the answer right here.
30.
How many eliminations they got? They get 30, bro. Top
so
5 and 4 players are there.
So they didn't break the record for the most points in a single round, but they definitely broke the record of most eliminations in a single round.
No, they broke the record for the most points in a single round within this competition for
This
sure.
competition,
Not-
yes. Not,
Yeah,
not overall, but this one, yes.
the Oscar Nero, Skylar Steffi. Man, this Steffi, I was not expecting the Steffi in the current meta. But looking at the number of grenade launches we have witnessed so far, this is a damn smart move from Nan7. No other squad, I think, is running the Steffi as aggressive as him, as consistent as him, and it has paid off big time, saving the skin of WAG time and time again.
This is another squad that runs the Steffi. Again, I think WAG, they are not just WAG, but the Vietnamese teams very, very fond of the Nero and Steffi. We even see that in Clash Squad pretty often. They're more reserved in the way that they approach these games. It's all about the war of attrition. We talked about it in the previous round. And this time, it's no different, right? WAG focuses on where they can get the most control over the situation. And that's why when we look at the radar just now, when Twisted Minds is trying to rack up eliminations with WAG, they were long gone. They were setting up shop in the final circle.
Yeah. And of course, what a great game for WAG as well. A total of 18 eliminations on this squad, plus the Booyah. This was a heavy bomber match for WAG. That's a 30-pointer right at the top. But Twisted Minds overtakes them with a total of 39. Close to a world record-breaking run here for Twisted Minds. But of course, it wasn't enough. They were looking for that Booyah. If they had gotten that Booyah, it would have been just so fun to see this run for them. But of course, Secret WAG is still showing that they are one of the dominant ones out there. Heavy putting out the big performance this time around as well, picking up a total of 18 points. Down at the bottom, you see Onyx crashing out early. Aurora Gaming, today is just not their day.
Yeah. And if Twisted Mind got the Booyah this round, they would have clocked in like 45 points. 46 points. And that would have been a world record that probably will not ever be broken unless a miracle happens in the next like 5 to 10 years. But either way, Twisted Minds now shot from 12th spot to 4th. That's
insane.
A pretty good chance now to get into the finals. But WAG have amassed such a big lead with almost a 21 point lead over the second highest point team, which is Falcons.
We've got 2 more games to go, so this script can really be flipped. But Twisted Minds now making it into the grand finals early is part of the storyline. How ridiculous is that? Off of one game, from not being in the conversation, from the 12th spot, nowhere near, to now being 1 game away, because the distance between them and Falcons is just 5 points, and that's very doable. And based off of the momentum from this game, I'm expecting big things off of Twisted Minds. It's ridiculous how they've managed to pull this off for themselves. Now, if you look at the performance off of Twisted Minds, usually I do have big questions. And this next map is going to be Bermuda. It's not their best map, but it's definitely not their worst map as well. They are fine on Bermuda. They are pretty good on Bermuda in terms of picking up points. So there's a big chance, Husky, we get to see them being one of those who earned the early ticket as well.
Yeah, and again, one more good round and they could secure themselves in the second place, unless WAG completely just bombs out in the last 2 rounds. But with Twisted Minds now joining the ranks of the teams who could make it, it makes it even scarier, right? Like it's fair to count out some of the teams because they just do not have enough rounds to catch up. But for Twisted Minds, they have done the heavy lifting. They have done the hard labor in round 4. The next 2 rounds, they just need to be normal. They don't need to go above and beyond unless they are looking for another world record.
And Twisted Minds now are sitting in the second place when it comes to the total eliminations picked up. WAG has got 41 eliminations. Twisted Minds has got a total of 38 here for themselves. And WAG had to work hard for this over the past 4 games. Twisted Minds just boosted themselves up to the top with just 1 game. Again, ridiculous run off of Twisted Minds. I don't even know how they pulled this off with such flair. And you got to just wonder, right? If they can do this with half the consistency that they've been bringing into the competition so far, being champions of this competition is going to be a no-brainer for Twisted Minds. But of course, at this level of the competition, no booyah, no problem. Later on, big problem.
Yeah, and especially with Champion Rush, it really does not matter how well you do. If you get 80 points and you cannot win, and then you lose out on the trophy, no matter what people say, you unfortunately are still a loser. And hopefully that's not going to be the case, right? Some teams, they don't show their cards and then they suddenly win the grand finals, like Onyx Olympus did last year. So for Twisted Minds, I think keep the gas going. You know, play your best and at least secure that ticket before anyone else.
Man, but can you imagine doing this on the grand finals, earning yourselves 39 points off of one game? Brother, they do it twice. They're already going to be unlocking the Champion Rush by the third match in itself, and that is ridiculous. But of course, I would not put it past these crazy squads out of Southeast Asia. They're definitely the creme de la creme of Free Fire Esports teams that we know in the world. Shadow Esports very early out of that flight into Rimnam Village they go. Early drop means early guns, and no fight for them, I believe, in this compound. Argon out of that flight early on as well. Argon's not really finding those shots for themselves. Now they've taken over the spot that Twisted Minds was holding for themselves in that 12th position.
And overall, just for the side of Twisted Minds, they should go towards Riverside and Mill. They can convert that plantation if they want to. There is Team Flash nearby. Another potential early fight happening here. I think Aurora MY should touch down first. They might run into a rogue player of AVD, which is Long Kong. The rest of AVD drops down. Again, Aurora reaches first to get the mini Uzi. AVD instantly takes on the fight. Good time to turn the dome. But unfortunately, Astro is isolated. Immediately, Zuez comes in for the tag team. They go for the trade, but the numbers right now favor Aurora. And that's going to be 3 points off the get-go.
Yeah, the battle of the mini Uzis on the hot drop. Anusit, the final one left alive here. But man is broke. Getting to a vending machine is the least of his concerns at this point of time. He's got the stealth bites. A little too early on the play of the stealth bites though, as he gets to the vehicle. Now we'll have the task of getting to those vending machines the coin machines, to pick up enough to save his buddies. He definitely can't earn them from eliminations this early in the game all on his own. Falcons versus EVOS. This one's going to be rough for EVOS if they can't get out of it.
The UAV also sent out too. EVOS are more clumped up together, and Falcons will have Limit as the scout. This time holding onto the cryo mine instead of the stealth bites. So we'll have a harder time to disengage if needed. But I think he should have that info relay. Unfortunately, having to shoot down that UAV will alert EVOS of his presence. Not to mention, they did put down glue walls early on, so I can assume that EVOS forced them out. But Falcons want to take back compound, and EVOS had the same idea, sending Ray to the high ground. Limit couldn't take him down, but Racha finds Kochu.
Yeah, Limit has to be careful here. He is pretty far away from the rest of his team members. Kochil found by Racha, smart play. We did see Flash fly somewhere close to this compound just moments ago. And speaking of Flash, they're flying right into them with the jump pad, and they want to book a battle up against Falcons.
This could bail EVOS out of the situation, and Pina will have to receive this. Unfortunately, completely outnumbered. And Keroro not in the best position to provide any sort of backup. They might have to take that L. Keroro shot from behind the God, catching him completely unaware. And that's Falcons losing 2 members. But Raja does have enough go. Manages to get the revive before he gets taken down. And that gives his team another chance. Raja, though, will have to give himself up. The Zom cashes in on another point.
Flash started off the competition really hot. I was very excited, but history repeating itself once again with the inconsistency. Flash currently sitting in the 11th spot with a total of 25 points picked up through 4 games played. He was Divine, slightly better with the performance. Definitely one of those teams who are capable of working their way into an early qualifier if they pull off 2 great games back-to-back here before we can close the day. But on a very early revival spree for EVOS Divine, definitely reducing the chances of that happening.
Plenty of time to work with, thanks to just how much space they have on Bermuda. Though M-God might run into Pina, just barely missing out on that vision. The emphasis on that revive It's definitely more important. And now he sees P9. Aimgod decides to not engage at all.
EVOS, no eliminations so far. Basically means they have a little bit of extra time to work around with earlier on with the almost big fight up against Falcons. But the decision to rotate away obviously gave them an extra chance to survive that encounter. And no knocks came on through that really put them in a pickle. Just one player given away. Argon up against the players of Buriram on the other hand. Will potentially give Buriram 3 points here because it's a full-on battle between each other.
Yep. And BRU, they did have their hit list put onto them. It's going to be Wasana, the prince that they will have to protect. Argon MY actually not even having the full team just yet. So thankfully BRU didn't go for the rush like they usually do, and Argon MY still needs to get into position. This could be a fatal mistake if they don't rearrange where they stand. Those pot shots do hurt, and those connections, those confirmations is enough to give BRU the confidence to start pushing in.
Yeah, Wasana with a double connection off of the Car 98. You gotta love seeing Wasana on the long range plays here as well. Usually just the shotgun rusher of the squad. We're just playing to the meta now. If you've got 4 players that can play the long range, you're definitely having a great big advantage in the current state of the game. But Buriram choosing to not go in for the full-on commitment after losing Moshi. Smart play by the veterans. Shadow Esports, on the other hand, with Argon MY now entering their compound, they go straight in for the rush. M590 finding one for themselves. First win, opportunity for the double. Yes, he finds it. Triple maybe. Trap circling around. Chilsea sorts that out with the mag 7.
And Argon MY, they wanted to stir the hornet's nest, but they ended up getting ambushed by one of the newcomers. Unfortunate there for Argon. The chances already non-existent at this point, but still I thought that there would be a chance with their plans, but they took too long to assemble the pieces. And Onyx Olympus now under heavy pressure from Aurora MY, who has been suffering a lot today, but still not willing to back down. A big wraparound from Adam allows him to find Jun, and a pan to the head will confirm that point for himself.
Oh, Aurora in a little bit of a trouble here. They do manage to fight back a little. Demons taken out of the equation. No electrotherapy connection that time round. Adam on the other hand, with the coda popped already, he knows exactly where to find Axel, who was busy, and that distraction gave Adam a very easy elimination of the Aurora player. But now Adam being pursued by 2 on the Aurora side. Quick reposition. Axel's gonna get picked up. Wow, smart prioritization here by Aurora. Now they've managed to pull all their players back up onto their feet. Back into a 4v4 here.
And Azrael gets knocked down again, unfortunately, and this time should be a confirmation there. Crime will pick that up. Suez wants to return. They just brush shoulders. Crime somehow sneaks past, and his teammate comes in. But unfortunately, Adam still ends up going down. Crime, now given a second chance, will try to clean up the battlefield. Heavy wiped out in last spot. Demons now as a third member to come in. Suez will have to rescue Axel first. Demon wins that fight, and that is not good enough for Aurora.
Oh, very risky play by Demons there, prioritizing the engagement instead of picking Crime up and playing the game of numbers, but that worked out in his favor. Gets the shot, gets the pickup. Onyx back up on their feet. Aurora now on the back foot. Just back and forth we go. Like a little bit of a rocking boat here. Falcons, on the other hand, 2 eliminations early. We did see Twisted Minds picking up some early eliminations as well. And Buriram versus Falcons might just be a possibility here as both teams try to scurry towards the next compound.
Falcons very near to the circle too. Should come to the factory where Argon MY is splitting up. I believe there should be a revive. So just missing the window. Good news for Argon MY. Unfortunate for Falcons, who are looking for a bit more points. But the Twisted Minds, on the other hand, could get it off of the corpses of AVD, who are right beside them. And there's also WAG coming in. There could be a pincer maneuver that is detrimental to Twisted Minds. But for now, they are going to play it safe.
6 eliminations strong. Not too bad at all for Aurora, who has been struggling to find those numbers all throughout the day. The rematch up against Onyx. As Azrael now gets a Groza for himself. This is a big advantage, but in terms of numbers, pulls out the time turner. A tad bit too early, I would say. And Adam rushing straight in. Demons gets the Trogon knock. Azrael locked the airdrop there, but for not, as Onyx now overtakes the loot, and Aurora sent scrambling straight towards the players of EVOS Divine. Not looking great for Aurora.
And Aurora now needs to move on forward through the open field with EVOS pointing their guns at them. Not just that, Onyx Olympus from behind. The sandwich from the Indonesians could mean the demise of the Malaysian squad again, with very little means of fighting back at this point of time. Ray takes out June, but Demons collect the point. And now EVOS will turn their attention onto Onyx.
A little bit of a distraction here. Aurora will be allowed to survive because of Onyx. How the tides turn for the Malaysian squad, being gifted a little bit of an advantage after they lost their players to EVOS themselves. Binocular scan out here by EVOS just to quickly reposition. Oh, Zuez, beautiful triple revival. Definitely one of the better runs for Aurora in the past 2 years, but the inconsistency is definitely getting to me. Fingers crossed they do find themselves in the top 6 next week.
When you compare the day 1 run to day 2 and now, day 2 definitely felt like the worst, but today doesn't feel any better, right? I think the bar was pulled down pretty low, but you do miss the spark of Aurora on day 1 where they were just a bit more fearless, albeit reckless, but the fearlessness was what gave them a lot of wins in these 4v4s. Right now, that has been missing the entire day. For EVOS, having the high ground control should be capable of keeping Onyx at bay. The revive comes through for Aurora again as... please don't land there. Okay, doesn't get... It's not any better, but, you know...
He was like, okay, Husky. That wasn't a better landing, though. Ezreal still into the crosshairs of 2 separate squads and gets sent right back. Waiting for the revival once again.
This round pretty toasted for Aurora. There's no better way to go around it. You can... If you're the Malaysian fan, you could turn your hopes and place it onto Oregon MY, who might bump into BRU outside of the circle as Onyx. They just found another one of Aurora's members, and that is another point gifted to the Indonesians.
Let's see if Buriram can earn their first elimination point here off of Argon. Now they get tanking the circle. Sorry, tanking the blue zone. And they're going to rotate away. Man, what happened to the aggressive Buriram that we all know?
Yeah, actually, I honestly thought that they would make an attempt at least. Seems like that is not the case. BRU conceding the area. Very rare sight. I guess with that rotation, they do give themselves some more breathing room to find a better spot to head towards. Although that also means they have to eventually run through Argon MY again. It's inevitable.
Avida comfortable in the next circle. Twisted Minds looking for the booyah they never got. Not a massive game this time around. Speaking of them, Exposi put straps down. Moshi and Jonah both knocked down by the circle. Such a late rotation by Buriram. What are they doing? As Raja now finds Moshi. One final survivor on the side of Buriram. Not looking good at all.
Not at all here for Falcons. Actually, Prime knocking Limit down, and Falcons, they need to somehow get him back up on his feet. But Onyx, they're not going to give that space. Limit has enough time to stand back up. Now they barricade themselves on the back foot. Pina bursts through the front. The glue walls go down. Zairu somehow trapped, but it'll go a while for Kiro to knock him down, and enough time for Adam to come in for an exchange. Pina needs some help. Riptide Rhythm unleashed. BRU now springs into action to get high, holding the perimeter. And it's all about collecting those 3 points. Raja, Pina, Limit all low, and unfortunately Get High perishes to the blue. Onyx and BRU go down at the same time.
Man, oh man. Buriram out in 9th. This is crazy. I did not expect to see a unprepared Buriram. Not that they're not prepared to play, they're just not prepared to dominate just yet. WAG Tikui pulls out the time turner here and leaves the rest of the Flash players behind. Wangam needs a little bit of a pickup. And PLS1 patching himself up before getting to Tikui. And will actually back away from the rest of the squad. He's going for the vending machine play instead.
See the ice grenade. gonna tickle Noki a bit, but he should be able to stand through that. Falcon somehow made it out in the earlier situation there. Argon MY, they dodged a bullet of BRU, but Evo shows up and gets mowed down by Falcons. Ray drawing the attention of Limit away. Limit actually just fights him downhill as the rest of Evos have already been dispatched, same as Falcons. It's a 1v1 and Limit seems to be absorbing the pressure from Ray, and Ray wins out in the end with that jump shot. Now it's an uphill battle, literally, for Ray. Argon should be able to keep him at bay, and that's what Traps does. Argon MY finds that third point, and Evos is out.
Evos is out as well. Man, next week's going to be a slugfest. The opportunities for some of these mid-tier card teams to qualify is looking like it's really slim, because you've got Evos who will be playing there. You have got Buriram. You're probably going to have Twisted Minds as well if they don't finish on the top end of this leaderboard by the end of the day. If Falcons fails to do so as well, man, it's gonna be very few slots for the other squads to earn. Flash now looking for the improvement in gameplay as they get towards the bottom floor. Top floor held here by both Twisted Minds as well as Shadow Esports, who quickly sneaks away. And Twisted Minds have a opportunity to perhaps nail down the rest of the squads here. A decent enough defensive spot away from the blue zone for the next circle.
SC actually doing a very good job of just holding their ground. ABCD runs into a death trap. The rest of Flash pretty late to the party now, and they are outnumbered. But this Twisted Minds, this is the playing field that they perform the best, and they somehow wipe out the entirety of Flash. Shadow Esports gets nothing, and Twisted Mind, they're out of there. Hasta la vista. And Shadow Esports left to wonder where the heck are all the other players. And Twisted Minds are out in the open.
Yeah, and Twisted Minds are the first ones to make their way towards the next zone as well. As the circle now starts to shift, they've got the biggest advantage, but of course, a little bit of a disadvantage as all of the rest of the teams are looking their way. Diamond, God, Nate shuts down one, takes him out of the equation as well. Twisted Minds now focusing on two squads at the same time. Avida x KDC with a decent defensive spot up on their side. Argon trying to control the narrative here, keeping Avida away from themselves. And Twisted Minds going in for a U-turn. They want to book an appointment with Avida before that final battle.
Twisted Minds might just find it. Diamond, big explosive there. Tawan gets dropped down. Pablo instantly picks it back up. Anusit gets exposed instead. And that one, there's no rescuing Anusit. ABD down to this tree. Twisted Minds, full control of the zone. Argon MY wants to constrict that area. And Alif is very dangerously in front. Unfortunately, there's not enough Guwas to keep Argon MY safe. And ABD is behind as well, so Argon MY needs to shift their attention back to dealing with a potential backstab. That's exactly what Long Kong did, and Jump also contributes to that, and Argon MY ends up being sandwiched by the Thais.
Yeah, I'm not sure what the plan there was for Argon. They are pretty indecisive as to what they want to do. One moment they want to rush towards these two squads, the next moment they're trying to run away from them, and now Traps all alone here. Twisted Mind's going to have an easy battle to eliminate the squad from this circle. And now, because of the early pressure on Avida, Twisted Minds have a numbers advantage up against them as well. Tawan tries to Valiant Dash straight through them, instead gets knocked down by Diamond off that Winchester, and Twisted Minds finally secures that Booyah, and this is going to launch them close enough to WAG.
Close enough to WAG, but definitely very, very close to the qualification. One more good round is all it takes. Well, one more average round, honestly, is all it takes. Twisted Minds, again, they've done the heavy lifting, they've done the Farmer's Lift and the High Rocks duo. Now they need to do is to run the one last kilometer of the race, and they are through to the grand finals. Another 12 points from placements and double-digit eliminations. Twisted Minds feel like they can do no wrong in the second half of the day.
I mean, the Bass has definitely been one of the better acquisitions for the squad, for sure. I mean, the guy is crazy when it comes to the plays, and at the moment has got the most number of eliminations in comparison to the rest of his team members. And backed up by one of the veteran players, Diamond, out here. This squad looks like they're unstoppable at this point of time. And it's crazy because when they want to do it, they can really get the job done. Consistency at its best here for Twisted Minds.
Yeah, and it's a team that has that spent some time soul searching after the first iteration that we know of them, right? Back then it was Saming that was the glue that held them together, and people say, just like AG Global, no Saming, no game, no duel, no game, but they have been able to really pick themselves back up, and like you said, the Bas took some time to integrate with the rest of Twisted Minds, but now they feel like a revived version. A version that doesn't look at long-range fights that often like they were back then, but when you get up close and personal, they are ruthless.
And because WAG got taken out way too early in this match, obviously Twisted Minds performing great back-to-back cuts down the distance WAG has up against them. I will not be surprised to see Twisted Minds on the #1 spot by the end of the final game that we've got coming up. But of course, to find out where we go, we gotta whip that randomizer out in a little bit. Avida XKDC performed decently well as well. I'm pretty surprised to see how well they're doing on the leaderboard because of their pretty average plays, but because they've been consistent in all of their matches, they are pretty high up the leaderboard.
And not only that, they also started off the day with quite a performance, right? I think they finished. They actually got a booyah for themselves too, if I remember correctly.
Avida,
so AVD, who's the team again? They got close to a booyah, sorry. But it was good enough, right? It's good enough to put them in the front running position. Even if they don't make it to the finals, they are going to pose quite the challenge when next week comes. And looking at how Falcons and BRU have been performing, high chance they won't make it, which means next week's lobby feels like a grand finals X lobby.
Yeah, because this is Southeast Asia, I don't know, man. I'm a little afraid of making that prediction because we just saw what Twisted Minds did in the previous game. That was a ridiculous match. If Falcons now pulls off that ridiculous game, they are definitely going to book a ticket here for themselves as well, because in terms of the points that we see on the leaderboard, or what we saw on the leaderboard earlier on, these squads are not too far away from each other, except WAG, who are fairly ahead compared to the rest of the squads, and they kind of pulled a blooper reel on this match. I don't think they got more than 10 points, which allows now Twisted Minds to be in just reaching distance, right? If they just stretch their hands out, they should be able to touch WAG. One game to overtake them, but either way, both WAG and Twisted Minds still pretty comfortable to make that early qualifier into our grand finals. To have two Vietnamese squads qualify early, that really shows the resilience out of the Vietnamese teams, and of course the confidence to get there as well. They've got the home ground advantage at the grand finals on top of everything else.
Yep, 100%. I think, especially for WAG, if they miss out again, that would be quite sad, considering that they missed out yesterday after a weak finisher. They would definitely not want to let that slip away again. Because they have another team, right? Gigabyte Maurice XPE. They don't even get the chance to play this week. So, if anything, WAG, sure, round 5 not as good, but again, they don't need to do too much in match 6.
Not too much at all, but they need to do something, right? Because because the exact same can be said for Twisted Minds. They don't have to do a lot to maintain their top spot here, but if they do just average and WAG underperforms, and you have a team like maybe Avida or Falcons having a explosive run in the final game, then WAG is going to miss out on that early access to the grand finals, which is going to be really, really rough for the squad. Let's take a look at the lineup here. You've got the Steffi, Oscar, Skylar, Zane on the lineup of Twisted Minds. This very clearly shows a aggressive setup of Twisted Minds. They want to get into the thick of things. They want to break down those defenses with that Skylar as well as Oscar. Protecting themselves from those grenades is a very smart move, just like the Vietnamese squad earlier on. We saw Nan7 do that time and time again for the team. And with Jump having the Zane on him, gives him that extra resilience on the front lines. He has that Shani for the gear recycle as well. That's been buffed up in the recent times. So definitely a great lineup of active and passive combination here to keep Twisted Minds on their aggressive play. Now, 2 back-to-back games, they've been able to bring this aggression out.
Yeah, and that also gives Twisted Minds a lot of that initiative to just consistently push forward, right? It feels like they need lesser time to recharge, and that gives them a lot of that advantage with how aggressive they approach the past 2 rounds.
Yeah.
That's why they have, I think, more leeway as well. Like, sure, we can lose the fight, but we can get back up on our feet very quickly. 27 points this round, and because Secret WAG, like we mentioned earlier on, dropped out way too early, which can be considered one of the worst a worse scenario.
Yeah.
Twisted Minds now are in touching distance. They could easily top the charts at this point.
Yeah, because of the phenomenal distance that they had put themselves or put between themselves and the other squads earlier on, they can afford slipping up in this matchup. But this final game, Game 6, we need to see the aggressive version of WAG. We need to see the consistent version of WAG again in terms of scoring those points. Because like you said, man, it'll be quite sad if WAG does not make it. Of course, they do have one final week next week, but it's the top 6 kind of gameplay, and you know, sometimes when we get towards the final bitter end, WAG does tend to falter. So they've got 2 booyahs here already. To not get that early qualifier after hitting 2 booyahs and being at the top of the leaderboard for so long will definitely take some of the spirit out of them. Heading into next week is not going to look good if that's going to be the way they do it. So fingers crossed for Vietnam, fingers crossed for WAG that they do get that early ticket in. Twisted Minds from the 12th spot to the 2nd spot. Come on!
Look at this, right? Like the main difference between these two teams, they are like what, like 5 points, 5 points between them, but the eliminations is what defines Twisted Minds today. But for WAG, it's the placement points. Now we gotta look at the map selected to see which map we go to for map 6, because it could give us a good idea of how well these two teams are gonna thrive.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And of course, as we look into this match, obviously one team's gonna get a big boost here. And it is going to be Nexterra. We just saw WAG pick up the booyah on Nexterra earlier on. That was their 2nd booyah of the day. This could just be a triple booyah early qualifier for the Vietnamese squad if everything goes according to plan. Because not only did WAG get the booyah, they scored a 30 bomber, but this was also the map where Twisted Minds scored 39 points. They missed out on the booyah. Do they want to try again? This is looking like it's going to be a phenomenal end to week 3.
Every single time I want to, dispel the rumors that the competition is scripted from start to end. Things like this happen, right?
Oh,
we didn't plan this. It's just how it is, but it gives us the best way to look at these teams under the microscope for the 2nd time. Is it a fluke for WAG? Is it a fluke for Twisted Minds? Or is this the second chance for some of the teams that dropped out a bit too early to prove themselves again?
Yeah, and Twisted Minds clearly showing us that when they do want to be consistent with those big numbers, they definitely can. 2 games back to back, they've now shown us the kind of consistency, and they've also shown us resilience, right? In terms of a team that was just down at the very bottom in the 12th spot after 3 matches played, you would expect the spirits to be low, but that was exactly what motivated them to jump up to the top of the leaderboard. And now they've got the early qualifier ticket in their hands. At least they've got their hand on it. Do they get to keep it in their hands? It will be determined by this final game of the day. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, as we head on into Nexterra, y'all better buckle up, because this one's gonna be a rough ride.
Another chance for Twisted Minds to get another to attempt to break the world record. You can say the same for WAG to hit the hat trick on that booyah. But also a second chance for a lot of these teams who felt like they could have done a lot more but didn't. As we look at the 5 path, very nice. First time we were here, it was from bottom to top. Now we do the inverse. Everyone going to the respective spot. Argon and Y take it intellect center. BRU should be heading somewhere down to the eastern, to the western side. There it is.
Get to Museum Buriram. Okay, all right, man. I was
pretty
holding
close,
my
pretty
breath. If they had dropped in the middle there, I would have been so excited. But Twisted Minds starting off hot here with the numbers. Heavy, it's biting the dust one after the other. Heavy, one of those teams looking for the early qualifier, but points-wise, they'll need a massive game, and this is definitely not how you want to start if you are Heavy. Mufasa almost annihilated there by jump, and the Super Zane active skill up on the front lines. You know you are going to be in trouble if you bump into this guy, especially with the mini Uzi in his hands. Now he's got the AUG as well. The extreme encounter is going to wear off here, as jump is no longer the most aggressive one, but you have to be worried when you have 3 players on the side of Twisted Minds trying to hunt you down.
At least Mufasa fought back a little bit. Now Twisted Minds, they are splitting up, so the numbers are going to be slightly thin on their end too. Another glue wall to buy some time. Mufasa Going for those shoulder peaks. Not able to catch anyone from the side of Twisted Minds, and I think this should be his way out. He should be in the clear, unless the bar somehow intercepts him again.
Nah, he's lucky because everybody thought that he was going in for the vending machine. Why are you making a U-turn, brother? Make your way. He thinks he's out of the blue. And he now thinks that he can get to the vending machine. He probably can, but he'll have to play this really smart, Pina. Popped the Coda just moments before he got annihilated there. And Onyx with the VSK up top looks a little dangerous. The rest of the Onyx players slowly circling on in. Falcons, can they get out of a pickle here? They're actually going to abandon the vending machine on their rotation as well. Kororo and Racha slowly but surely moving in towards another spot where they can save themselves at Rustdown. There is a vending machine here that they can make use of. As they bring Pina right back in, Onyx Olympus just a little slow catching up with them.
They already got the revive, so they do not need the vending machine, which is smart on their end. They need to get some distance, not knowing where Onyx Olympus might be, and shooting down that UAV who can give Onyx a bit of a hint of where Falcons might be at. Pina, 1v1 against Boy. Double revolver coming out on top of that encounter gives them their first point.
Avida X KDC will need about 15 points or 15 points more than WAG to take them out of this running on the number 1 spot. So they're not too far away. Falcons, one of those squads who could earn the early ticket to the grand finals as well. But under quite a bit of pressure here by the squad of Onyx. Unless Kororo sorts this out. Great jump shot off the Car 98. Potential to spot out Zyru as well, who was tagged up by the Moko earlier on, so he does know danger is on that right-hand side. Limit X7, oh, beautiful time turner save here. Racha's moving on in, and Onyx might just lose another player in this situation. Was that a jump at exit I saw there? No, Adam does still get caught by Pina and the VSS.
Yep. And that's going to be 3 points for Falcons. Onyx Olympus should be tamed by now. Zyru really missing Pina, but should the auto kill from behind limit on the hunt as well. Zyru running out of space to hide. Almost backstabbing limit, but Racha backstabs him instead.
Unfortunate for Onyx. Just a little bit of a ring around with the Rosie, and it's just not going the way of Onyx players at all. 4 picked up by Falcons. They see C1 replacing... Sorry, Bui replacing C1 on the heavy side. And Team Heavy needing some heavy points, but I think it's close to impossible for them to get that early qualifier ticket, unless, of course, they pull a 39 bomber, like what we've seen out of Twisted Minds. Very unlikely, though.
Yeah, very unlikely. If even if they do it now, if Twisted Mind gets a good round, it should be enough to cover up, to kind of make up for the void. Oh, we actually Pina getting tagged from the high ground. That's Argon MY. What a sneaky angle. I think it's a shoulder shot at most. Alan with a grenade launcher actually took out Pablo.
Oy.
And Bowie good intercept there. Long Kong not able to drive away in that truck. Vida will have to go for another revival spree.
I talked about how Vida needed 15 points more than WAG, but things are not looking good for them at this point of time. Falcons, on the other hand, could book a spot. They need Twisted Minds out of the equation first, though. Unless, of course, they want to go for the jugular and take even WAG out of that number 1 spot and have 2 Thai teams qualify early. That'll be fun to watch. Not so fun if you're a WAG fan. Flash now bumping into Shadow Esports. The guard down on the ground. ABCD. Tad bit panicked in that situation, but Shadow Esports just no fight for the squad. If they annihilate them, easy pickup as well to the down player, and right back in it as Falcons find Argon.
5 points. Argon still aggressing towards Falcons. Well, at least they do have the high ground, so they feel a bit safer at this point of time at Rust Town. The next circle might force them out. In fact, Falcons will be the one that pulls back. Could get onto the level ground and try to challenge Argon MY. There's the launch pad being used already. I think Falcons definitely have the plan to take them head on. The Twisted Minds actually are nearby too. They could voucher a couple of extra points again.
Well, 2 eliminations in their hands of Twisted Minds so far. But they do have a hit list on to Exposi, so they're just trying to wait that out. Not too long. Argon NY could just potentially rotate into them. What's up with Rustown? It's a tad bit too crowded now. But the teams are assuming that the final circle is going to be somewhere around the area. Even Falcons making their way towards Rustown now at this point of time. And Argon's in a little bit of a pickle as Falcons are right behind them. Fai's going to get caught out here. Ice Grenade tags him up. Oh, really low. Oh, beautifully done. Pina with a backstab rotation around him, and Fai just stood no chance in that spot.
Not at all. Pina again stepping up to the occasion. These slow fights, slow burns are in favor of Falcons. You give them 1v1s, they excel in that. Pina, what was that one? 8th point collected. Alif not even given a chance to respond, and now it could just be a 4v4 affair between Falcons and Twisted Minds. Evos though will have Flash in their crosshairs.
Also, Evos going to get out of this one because Flash do have a little bit of an advantage. Okay, not really, because they are trying to back away, going straight towards the vending machine for that revival. 2 players on that vending machine at the same time. It's not the best of ideas, and Evos taking advantage of that unfortunately bad play off of Flash in that circumstance.
And that will give Evos breathing room too. Twisted Minds continue to hold on to this area, as there's no need to rotate yet, and they might be able to reel in bigger fishes as Falcons are coming in nearby from the north looking for revive. So that means Falcons are not in a position to fight all out, but they also have Aurora from the south. Twisted Minds have the opportunity not just to play with the circle, which is in favor of them, but cash in on extra points. WAG, Arctic Olympus, they are all heading there.
Twisted Minds, imagine earning a early access ticket into the grand finals off of just the second half of this day. First 3 games, they absolutely rocked it at the bottom of the leaderboard. And the final 3 games at the very top. But of course, a little bit of a pressure situation here, a pressure cooker situation, looking at the number of squads all around them. WAG with a high ground advantage up against Twisted Minds as well, not really making it easier for Twisted Minds to pull those big numbers towards their side. Step out at the wrong moment, they're going to get punished either by WAG or Falcons. And WAG now slowly rotating around. Probably Falcons will be their next target as Diamond finds Adam. Just a knock though, quite far away from finding the confirmation. Oh,
Rhythm takes down that blue wall here. BRU will slowly back off and play with distance. Again, it's better. You give them a couple of snipers to work with. BRU are in their comfort zone. AVD are going to try and push on forward. Long Kong relocates, but Wasana on the case almost tracks him down. A second launch pad. That means that they are thinned out in numbers, but Tawan was ready for that rush and might have just given AVD a winning chance. Get high. Next on the list, Jonah to reinforce Pablo on the low ground. Cryo Mine, unfortunately, not having too much impact there. That means Jonah get high, get some time to heal back up, but Anusit with that relocation, good enough for the snipe. BRU down to 2.
Yeah, great position held by Anusit here, just in the waters. And has the best angle to play up against the Buriram players. Now Jonah going to be in danger. Anusit again strikes perfectly. Position well played, and Buriram about to lose their opportunity here. Smart play off of Moshi, but Long Kong from the back with the shot, and Tawan with the finisher of that M590, and Buriram out in 11th, gearing up to dominate the final week to qualify.
That must feel good if you are AVD. You just took out the literal best team, the gold standard of your region. Oh, they won't know as they're in game, but they will find out after this. When we look at the scoreboard, AVD are not that far, but it does require a bit of alteration in some of these teams. Twisted Minds WAG will have to fall out in the next, as the next 2 teams to fall out for Falcons and AVD to even have a chance, and that includes Evos too.
Some in the chat panicking that Buriram's out already. I think this is all planned. They want to. It's really malicious if you ask me, Buriram, wanting to play the 4th week, because you probably will see them flying high, getting into the top 6. Of course, if they get into the final week and then not perform as well, then I'm going to be really worried, as Buriram's usually not this week out there in place. I do expect to see that aggression from them And EVOS, another squad in the exact same situation, right? I do usually expect to see more numbers off of this squad. And it looks like they actually tried today, but still unable to pull off a great run.
I think all in all, these two teams, they should make it to the finals, and if that's the case, they should also be in top 8, right? If EVOS in top 8, technically you just need to be in top 9. And I cannot imagine a universe where VRU is not in top 9. As a Flash getting completely decimated, trying to drive away by Heavy, making sure that would not be the case. It's just the Zom now, having to deal with the Blue, the Lightning, 4 members of Heavy. The Zom actually able to take out one. Ducks underneath the freeway to the low ground, gets another down, but no confirmation there. So it's Heavy that comes out on top. Flash will have to bow out.
Absolutely, and well, Flash, this looks like less for the picking. Don't cry, down on the ground. Mufasa expanded as well. Rastia doing great this time around. Speaking of EVOS not being super aggressive and they want to just step it up a little bit, they're gonna have they're gonna need a massive game off of this one to be able to find that early ticket. I think it's virtually impossible based on where they are on the leaderboard at the moment, unless of course they pull off a super bomber off a match. 4,900 coins in the hands of Rastia. No vending machine to spend it at.
They do have the high ground temporarily. Circle doesn't favor them. I have to use the monster truck to relocate at this point. The bird's eye view gives us a very good idea of where some of these hard-hitting teams are, and Twisted Minds too bad of a position. They're not in dead center, so they won't really get sandwiched completely. Maybe by EVOS if EVOS makes their move next, but at least Twisted Minds has wiggle room. Same as Onyx Olympus.
Now pressured by Blue Zone as well. Jump pad. It's gonna get them into a beautiful position held. And great blue walls on the landing as well. They've got their backs covered by natural compound there. Rastia taken out of the equation. Great snipes by Axel. The narrow is going to tickle them as well with the cryo mine. Under a lot of pressure these EVOS boys are now.
Falcons also not looking to stay there for too long. They have WAG.
Oh, wow!
On the southern side, Ray gets a double nade there on Argon MY. That should free up some space for EVOS to go for a bit of that rotation as EVOS continues to make the move. AVD can make a couple of choices, whether they want to take on Falcons or they want to take on Twisted Minds or WAG, Secret WAG even, but Falcons will call dibs on that first. 2 members of WAG going down. WAG sadly out in the open. Riptide Raider committed by Aurora. Only T-Kui left alive.
There is a vending machine though. Can T-Kui somehow sneak towards that vending machine and bring his buddies right back? It's going to be difficult. It's a crowded circle here. So many squads alive and kicking. EVOS just managing that high ground really well. They don't have the numbers. They themselves want that vending machine for themselves. But, of course, it is going to be absolutely impossible to get down to that lower ground without putting yourself in a little bit of trouble. Onyx now spotted. And instead of the players on the side of EVOS taking out Onyx. Oh, what a final second revival. Coachil. And enough coins to bring the whole squad back. But do they survive? Maybe the chaos in this final circle helps them to survive the drop. Nobody's looking up just yet.
Very good chance that EVOS might make it if WAG gets knocked out next. WAG don't have the luxury of what EVOS had. Russia already found out. Kochu as well. Pina still not able to find the knockdown. A limit and jump will. So EVOS now is praying that WAG goes down first and then people forget about their existence, because that is going to be one of their tickets in the top 2 alongside Twisted Minds. Falcons is also looking for that spot. The circle moves and it seems like EVOS caught up to that. There goes WAG. Condition 1 has been fulfilled. Onyx now joins the party and they steamroll over Aurora.
Aurora not looking like a strong squad today at all out of Malaysia. Prime with a sliver of health, backs away. Jun does not get that elimination. Finally knocked down by Ingot from across with a Mac 10. Exposi finds both players after that pickup. But the recovery is instantaneous from the side of Onyx Olympus. Here comes the glue wall melters. Avida x KDC, actually one of the squads that are looking for the early qualifier as well. Falcons have a little bit of a problem here because they're not the only one looking for the early ticket who are still alive. Aurora's out. Avida just lost Anusid, and now the Blues going to be putting a lot of pressure on them.
Yeah, and that's the biggest problem for a lot of these teams right now is that everyone actually has a chance to qualify. This is closer than we imagined.
Yeah.
Prior to the start of this round, Twisted Minds, they go out now, they might have a chance to lose that spot, and this is a scary thought because Twisted Minds are down to just 2. Falcons and Evos might actually complete the steal here. Falcons with 13, and I think Evos last time we checked was also around 13. Pina finds Exposi. Oh, all the work that Twisted Mind has put in might end up amounting to nothing.
How many eliminations the Bass and squad got, though? That's going to be a big question. And now Avida XKDC, Falcons. These two teams were in the 3rd and 4th spot. So this is looking really rough after all the effort Twisted Minds put in. Because Avida XKDC were just 10 points behind Twisted Minds earlier on. It's all dependent on how aggressive they were in this game with those eliminations. Imagine Twisted Minds putting in all of that effort and still not qualifying early, man. That would be rough.
We talked about the possibility of that. It's very minor, but it's not impossible. Not just for Twisted Minds, but also WAG.
Yeah.
We did say we could have scripted better. This map was the map that they really tore up a storm. But it's also the second chance for teams like Falcons and Evos and even ABD to shine again, to find a second win. And guess what? The top 3 teams are exactly that. Falcons has the best chance of winning too. Rasha getting knocked down means that Falcons have full control of the circle.
Oh, and the other 2 players on the side of Evos, though, up on the bridge. Man, they've got the monster truck, but they bumped into the glue wall. Monster truck's not going anywhere at this point of time. Evos trying to wait out this battle. Avida XKDC with their final survivor left here, and Falcons going in. Valiant Dash breaks down the defense as Racha gets the M590 on the shot. Now Evos flying straight on in, positioning themselves, and Aim got Valiant dashing in, breaking down those defenses, but still unable to pull it away from Falcons. And Falcons with this game could have earned that early ticket into the grand finals. We will have to look at these standings in a little bit to determine if or not they've got enough numbers. But like you pointed out, Husky, they had massive numbers of eliminations on their side.
Damn. Evos Divine. This could easily come down to a 5-way fight up until we see that overall leaderboard. But what a final round. I really thought it was almost guaranteed, set in stone. But the teams continue to fight back, and fight back they did. Falcons once more, when push comes to shove, when at the midnight hour, when the bell is about to ring, Falcons refuses to go down and gives us a potential Cinderella run.
Falcons had 2 massive games today, right? This next era match was definitely massive from them. They had decent numbers of eliminations, and on top of that, they got the Booyah as well. When we were at Solara earlier on, they struck their Booyah. So this is the second Booyah Falcons picks up for the day. And I'm afraid that it was enough. Falcons might have gotten the early ticket into the grand finals. Bigger question is, between Twisted Minds and WAG, who still kept that? Because WAG got eliminated, they were playing game of survival. And then you look on the other side, Twisted Minds, they did last, but they had decent eliminations on their side before they got eliminated. It's just way too close. I think both Twisted Minds and WAG played this one way too safe when they should have been much more aggressive. But I don't think anybody else went in for contention. So Twisted Minds has replaced one of these 2 squads. Question is, who did they replace?
At the start, we saw Twisted Minds get a couple of eliminations, and I thought, okay, Twisted Minds are going to go fast. But they slowed down, right? They somehow slowed down. We also covered the fact that this is the worst spot for WAG because there's literally nothing that they could do despite putting in all the hard work. They did all the planning, the foundations were laid out. They were in first place despite having a horrendous round 5. And that might just have been what costed them the ticket into the grand finals.
It would be a true kick in the guts for WAG if they don't get that early access into the grand finals, because they've really been hustling all throughout the day. The final 2 games, they sucked. All right, the final 2 games, WAG was just not putting in the numbers like what they were doing in the first 4 matches, and this is the problem, right? Sometimes, especially when you've got, a condition like Champion Rush, where you're so close to it, and then that's when the pressure really starts piling on your shoulders, where you start thinking, maybe I want to play this a little bit more passive. But the answer is no, you do not go passive. And I think one of the 2 teams, Twisted Minds or WAG, will learn that heavy lesson right here. Falcons, on the other hand, man, I don't know how they did this, but this was a massive game for them to climb up into the top 2. Whether they're in the number 1 spot, number 2 spot, we'll have to look at the numbers in a little bit. I think a little bit of a sneak peek to what it could be should be shown on the elimination leaderboard at least before we get there.
Yeah, 100%. It's going to be a travesty for WAG. It would be deja vu. The same thing happened yesterday. Good start, poor ending. Today, great start to the first and second half, but it's just like this. It's like a show with multiple seasons, right? You know that meme, that drawing, like the horse gets worse and worse. It really felt like that. They just couldn't hack it when they needed to do it the most. And I'd rather you have a slow start and finish strong.
Yes.
So WAG, they gotta say their prayers because the worst case scenario has happened to them. The thing that can only get worse is that you play next week. But at least we know they have 3 days to make it right, and they should, and I use the word very loosely, should be able to make it, even though not today.
Man, and I did bring up the theory that maybe 2 Thai teams could find the early qualifier today. That could still be on the table here, with Falcons managing to pick up a massive game off of those eliminations, plus the Booyah for this final match. 7 eliminations out of Peanut. This man alone, plus the Booyah, puts them in a very good spot to overtake WAG as well as Twisted Minds. And looking at the overall leaderboard, Falcons whooped for sure, but it's EVOS up here, which means Twisted Minds as well as WAG did not get those heavy numbers from this lobby.
Alright, so Falcons, at least from 3 members, they have like 16 eliminations, right?
Yeah.
EVOS also had, again, double digits. They had almost the same amount of eliminations last we checked in on them. The team settings for Falcons, again, very adaptable depending on the map. Sometimes you see Nero come out, sometimes you see the Morse, sometimes they are willing to throw in the A124, and that is the tricky thing about playing against Falcons. They have so many stress up their sleeves.
And this looks like a very aggressive setup once again, but with a little bit of a safety play off of the chrono from Racha. And for anyone that does not know, this is Potato, just with a name change here, so definitely a veteran player in the run for Free Fire Esports. And this is a very clean, active lineup here. You've got that Valiant Dash A124 set up, geared for aggression. Nero as well, as they move on in for those rushes. And this is Limit X7. Man, him without the active and passive skills is already a disaster to meet out there on the battlefield, especially in this sniper meta. But he's not chugging out those big numbers, and I think this is just Limit X7 downplaying what he can do out there on the battlefield. But the numbers were still thrown in. 20 elimination strong game for Falcons as they pick up the Booyah, giving them 32 points in this final match. This is the best game of the day.
And Limit, sometimes people forget about it, but you will be reminded that he is one of the greatest rookie in his debut season, and that was a tournament that only technically happened once because the our official circuit did go through some changes. But during FFSI with E-Arena, this man was so good at it. He won the grand finals in half the required rounds.
Oh yeah.
We had 6 rounds for the finals, and he won it in 3 rounds and became the finals MVP on his debut season. Got picked up afterwards and went on to win EWC, went on to win 2 seasons. And then now they get 32 points in this round. You cannot have asked for more from someone like him, man.
GG, bro. I think Secret WAG just bombed out big time.
Yup.
4 placement points, 1 elimination. This is not looking good. And I think Twisted Minds might have been able to hold their spot because EVOS Divine was just way too far away from them. And 25 points would have been enough if, of course, Twisted Minds did not continue picking up these solid points here for themselves. Because Twisted Minds with a 12, I think, was that average game that even Secret WAG needed for themselves. Let's look at the overall leaderboard here. WAG, so unfortunate. Great first 4 games. Terrible final 2. And they pick up the 3rd spot. And the 2 Thai teams, as suspected, will make their way in to the grand finals early. Falcons and Twisted Minds gets the golden ticket.
Insane. This is actually crazy. The fact that WAG just needed to survive 2 more teams, maybe 60 more seconds would have made the difference. Maybe 1 extra elimination would have made the difference, and they barely missed out. And Twisted Minds breathing a sigh of relief. They had to really hit some record-shattering rounds to even get to this point. But for WAG, it's like a reoccurring nightmare. They will still have next weekend and 3 more days to slug it out. But it is going to be quite a tough pill to swallow.
Dude, WAG has a big fan base. Secret has a big fan base. Secret WAG has a massive fan base. If these guys don't make it into the grand finals, I will not know what to say. But the team of the day, 55 eliminations strong for a total of 99 points, 34,045 on the damage. 2 booyahs to make their way into the number 1 spot just with that final game. Overall, this was a brilliant run for Falcons, your inaugural Esports World Cup champions. Remember, they won Sea Spring in 2024 and they went on to become EWC champs. They might just be geared up to do that again. If the meta stays the same, favored towards the snipers, I think Falcons stands a phenomenal chance to do it.
I think it's going to be quite the challenge to stop a team like Falcons at this point. They have the record for one of the highest points ever gathered in a single round. Looking at global statistics, and now we have made up half the grand finalist roster. Falcons and Twisted Minds joins BTR by Vitality, AG Global, Argue Kazu, and GOW in Vietnam. We're still looking for 6 more, and those 6 teams will be decided by the end of next weekend.
And looks like we are about to hear, hey, what's up, y'all, all over again, because it's just Thailand fighting dominance once again. Falcons or Twisted Minds, one of these 2 squads definitely going to be interviewed in a little bit. I mean, good on them, right? I think Twisted Minds, they earned this with 2 games. Okay?
Yep.
WAG must be super salty right now because Twisted Minds did it with 2 games. Falcons snuck in at the very final moment. But of course, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, I don't know what to say, man. I feel bad for WAG, but we have to go and check out the interview. We've got Falcons on the stage with our host. We'll catch up with you guys in a little bit as we continue to cry for WAG. We'll see you in a bit.
Hey guys, now we're with the team that got the ticket to the grand final round, Team Falcons ตอนนี้นะคะเราก็อยู่กับทีมที่ได้ตั๋วไปแข่งต่อที่นครโฮจิมินห์แล้วซึ่งก็คือทีม
Falcon ครับ
Can you briefly introduce yourself ช่วยแนะนำตัวสั้นๆหน่อยค่ะ
สวัสดีครับผมลิมิตจากทีม Falcon ครับ
ลิมิตของเรานะคะวันนี้เล่นโหดสุดๆ Today you got 2 booyah and in the last game you eliminate 20 players. How did you guys do that? วันนี้ได้ไป2บูแล้วยัง eliminate ไปได้20 คนทำได้ยังไงคะ
ก็ดวงดีครับวันนี้ดวงดีครับ
He said it's the luck thing so the luck seems to be on their side today and today you got team of the day does that boost your confidence วันนี้ได้ team of the day ไปทำให้มั่นใจกับการไปแข่งต่อที่โฮจิมินห์ไหมคะ
ก็มั่นใจครับผมมั่นใจมากขึ้นใช่
He said it really boosts their confidence. And yesterday I talked to On Fire and he said he will dance and post it on the social media. So what about you? Anything special for the fans? เมื่อวาน On Fire เขาบอกว่าเดี๋ยวเขาจะเต้น TikTok ให้ทุกคนดูถ้าเกิดว่าเขาได้เข้ารอบแล้วเราล่ะคะเตรียมอะไรให้แฟนคลับหรือเปล่า
ผมเต้นคู่ On Fire เลย
เพลงอะไรคะเพลงอะไรสปอยได้ไหม Can you give like some example?
รอดูดีกว่า
He said he will dance beside On Fire but which song he won't tell for now so just keep watching and last question please tell something to the fans hashtag Thai อากงช่วยบอกอะไรกับแฟนคลับ hashtag Thai อากงหน่อยค่ะ
ก็ฝากเชียร์ไทยอากงที่โฮจิมินห์ด้วยนะครับเป็นกำลังเชียร์พวกผมด้วยครับจะทำให้เต็มที่ที่สุดครับอยากได้แชมป์มากครับ
He said, keep cheering for us in the match in Ho Chi Minh City and we will try our best to get the champ. And that is the interview. For now, let's get back to the caster and see you next week. กลับไปที่ caster กันแล้วเจอกันสัปดาห์หน้านะคะ บ๊ายบาย
I don't know what to say, man. WAG. I feel so bad for these guys because they were really on the hustle. and they wanted to just guarantee some decent points for themselves towards the very end. But I hope this is a big lesson for every single squad out there, not just WAG. As you get towards the end, if you want to guarantee something for yourself, you gotta go for the booyah, you gotta get aggressive, you gotta get those eliminations.
Yeah, I think the saddest thing is that the bar was so low. It was literally so low. But they still have a chance. I believe in WAG. I believe in the secret WAG.
Yes.
3 more days to go. Let's see what they have in the coming weekend.
Absolutely. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, it has been an absolute pleasure to bring you guys the final day of week 3. Next week, we've got 3 days where the top 6 teams will make it into the grand finals as well. We will get rid of the bottom 6. Will WAG be a part of the top 6? I guess we'll have to wait and see. Till then, my name is AJ. I'm the Mustache, down here with the one and only Husky signing off. We'll catch you guys next week.